Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Bruce Arians here with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During these difficult times, it's important that we all show we care about our community's health. You could spread COVID-19 without knowing it. Wear a mask, wash your hands, keep your distance from each other, stay strong, and go Bucs.
Realizing my potential has been what my career has been all about. Things that I've dreamed about have actually come true.
And the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
Things have happened in my life as I kind of hoped they would happen. It's been, just a complete evolution. You know, how I just kept kind of fighting and clawing to continue to power forward. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you keep trying to make progress. So when I look at over 20 years, I look how far I've come. But there's not one step that I took where I realized, look how far I've come. But those series of steps that I put together, I go, wow, that's quite a journey.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here live nightly on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And as we always start off the Sports Web, let's just get it out of the way, right? Write it down because it is hump day. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we will have Nick Citro, our Bucs Report analyst, who will be breaking down around the NFL about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bruce Arians with a presser today. A lot of great comments about Ronald Jones and LaShawn McCoy. And then at 10 o'clock, we will have a Keck on. No, it's not the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend Al. It's its son, actually, a Bucs Report writer here, Mr. Kyle Keck, at 10 o'clock. And then after that, we will have Mr. Alex Fleming, the flamethrower himself of fantasy and flavors. And, of course, Turf Talk, which can be heard here and seen here on Bucs Report exclusively on Saturdays at 10 a.m. And then, of course, your phone calls. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and, of course, a part of the Landry Football Network, the Chris Landry Football Twitch channel. So without further ado, let's get him on. He's been like my long lost brother here. I haven't seen him in a long time. I miss him. I remember doing night after night with this guy here, Mr. Nick Citro. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing tonight?
What's going on? It seems like I haven't been on in about 2 months.
It's, after the draft, you got big with, Twitter and the Steeler fan base trolling them. And then you're on Pittsburgh radio and then you're trolling the Ravens. And you said, and even the Saints fan bases. And he said, you know what? I'm just going to forget about the evolution of Sports Talk.
Oh, get out of here. I haven't pissed anyone off in about 3 weeks. So I'm trying to ride the streak right now.
Trying to ride the streak. All right. So this is our pro football edition of the Sports Web, of course, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can't talk Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because we can. And once again, the open phone line, 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Let's talk about Lavonte David. You're one of those guys that has gotten on this show and has talked ad nauseum about Mr. David. What was your thoughts on him being ranked 100 out of the top NFL players on NFL Network?
I mean, to be honest, I was surprised he even made the list, just given how underrated he is. And I think people, around the NFL, I've seen a lot of tweets by, people who are, pretty big journalists in the NFL saying how underrated he is. So I think he's finally catching a little bit of that wave. But 100 is absurd. If you look, I think Trevor Sikkema tweeted this out in a much more clean way than I could have done it. But basically, Lavonte David, he compared him to Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, which I've done in the past. But he had them kind of all side by side. Lavonte David has more solo tackles, tackles for loss, sacks, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, and total takeaways than Luke Kuechly or Bobby Wagner. The only category that he doesn't have better than either of them is total tackles, which, tackles is kind of I don't really like it as a stat, especially assists, because, you watch Bobby Wagner and he just falls on guys when their knee's pretty much down and he gets credited with an assist. So, and then interceptions, he has more than Wagner, less than Kuechly. Then he has the least amount of passes defended. But, still better stats than guys who have been to 4 times, 5 times the amount of Pro Bowls as him. I probably would have put him somewhere in the top 60. But some people were saying you should be happy he's in there at all. But nah, I'm not stopping until he gets the recognition he deserves.
Yeah, and I definitely think he's going to get the recognition because of all the primetime contests the Bucs are going to have this year, 5 primetime games. And then on top of it, having a Brady and a Gronk. But even Chris Landry said this last week when I talked to him about it. He said these lists are really silly because the scouts and general managers, they don't really look at it. Yes, it's by the NFL peers, but at the end of the day, they look at if he's a blue chip guy, if he's I believe red and then orange. And of course, blue would be the starter. And he even said Lavonte David is a blue type of player. So.
Yeah, if you look at it too, there wasn't a ton of offensive linemen, which is kind of surprising. Stephen Shea put out his own top 100, and his was much better. He had a lot more offensive linemen. I think they just kind of tailor it to, the average fan who doesn't really know a lot of the trench players besides maybe your own team. And Patrick Mahomes at 4, that is insane.
Wow.
How is he not number 1? That was ridiculous. I think who got number 1? Lamar Jackson. If you want to put Lamar Jackson at 1 and Mahomes at 2, I'd still think it's ridiculous, but I could live with it. To put Mahomes at 4, that makes no sense.
Well, because Jackson is the MVP of the league, but I get what you're saying because Mahomes just came off the largest contract.
Super Bowl MVP.
MVP. But he didn't necessarily play the best game, did he? Was that
in the Super Bowl specifically? I guess not, but the dude is the best quarterback in the NFL.
I think 2 years ago, you could definitely make the case he was the number 1 player in the league when you throw 50 touchdowns, but he had an injury this year. But you're exactly right. He's only, 24, 25 years old. So, yeah, the sky's the limit for him and Lamar Jackson. And you're going out to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. More than 50 players have opted out. Of course, we've talked about the opt-outs. But he said also big names are strongly considering joining the group, and the race to Thursday's deadline will be fascinating. Are you surprised by all these opt-outs? And do you really think there's going to be some superstars? Because we haven't really had that big-time name. We haven't had the J.J. Watt. Drew Brees has been talked about the last couple of weeks. There was a rumor out there on Twitter. Take it for what it's worth. So to me, we haven't really seen that. Do you feel like we could see that tomorrow because it is the deadline, some big names that we wouldn't expect?
I think I saw a rumor Tre'Davious White was rumored to opt out, but I know we talked about this last week, and kind of the question you posed was, would you expect a star player or sort of a bubble guy to opt out? And when you first think about it, you're thinking, okay, probably the star player. He has the money. It's not a big deal. He can take a year off. But when you think about it more, these bubble guys who are, I think they're going to raise the roster to 55 this year. If you're that 54th, 55, 56 guy, would you just opt out, take your $350,000 and come back next year? Because if you don't, and you're not on a team or on a roster, you're making nothing. So in terms of star players, I don't think we're going to get a massive name. I think Mosley on the Jets, CJ Mosley was probably the biggest name we got so far, if I remember correctly. Drew Brees is not opting out. There's no way. I saw that rumor too. It was kind of interesting, but I would be shocked. I don't see a quarterback really opting out. It doesn't really make sense.
Is it a crime that Mosley, you said that did you say you were a Jets fan?
I'm a Jets fan?
Yeah, I didn't think you said you were a Jets fan.
No.
Okay.
If I did, then I need to rub my tongue with soap.
I don't think there's any Jets fans left because not only did they trade Jamal Adams, but CJ Mosley, who's the highest paid defensive player, has gained $29 million over the last 2 years, and then he gets another $10 million in March. My thing is, I get it, they signed a contract, but do you feel like Mosley should give that $10 million back he got in March? I mean, it's kind of.
If I'm Mosley, I'm not doing it. I signed the paper. These are the rules. It says the contract goes till next year. I ain't giving a dime back.
Right.
So I mean, if you're the Jets, you free up $10 million essentially. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. The Jets are a dumpster fire. Jamal Adams has been wanting out of there for 6 months. It's a disaster. I think they probably have one of the worst coaching staffs in the league. So I've been pretty strong about Adam Gase. I think he's awful.
Yeah, he is awful, and it really doesn't matter what you do, what kind of personnel you change. If you're not nailing your first round picks and you've got terrible coaching, and even there's been talk about, what about Adam Gase? And I almost feel like, once again, getting on the Jets just in the season for Jets fans out there, he's going to be on the hot seat, and most likely Greg Williams will take that job. Do you feel like that's possible?
It's possible. I mean, Greg Williams was the bounty gate guy, so I kind of lost all respect for him. I think that division it's the Patriots until they prove that they can't do it anymore, until Bill Belichick proves that he can't do it. I think the Bills are right there. I mean, they had one of the best defenses last year. They fought with the Patriots all the way down to the wire, I think, in both games. So, I mean, the Dolphins, we'll see what they can do with Tua. And then it's just the lowly Jets who, I mean, I like Darnold as a quarterback, but the situation is just awful.
What's the worst team right now? Is it the Jets or the Browns?
I don't think you can say the Browns.
You can't now with Baker Mayfield. You're believing in Baker Mayfield?
If you watch Baker Mayfield's interceptions last year, there was, I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I don't know the exact number. It seemed like 5 to 10 of his interceptions were literally in the hands of the receiver, bounced up, pick six. So, I think Baker can be good. I think their play calling was awful to begin the season last year, and then they changed it up to his strengths, and they did well. I mean, they blew out Baltimore, I think, last season. I think they scored 42 on them. The coaching staff has not been great. I don't really blame it. I blame it a little bit on Todd Monken, but I think the head coach there has more of a say in the play calling. They have solid weapons. I mean, could you say Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry are the second best duo in the NFL? I think you could put Julio and Calvin Ridley are probably right up there.
Well, I definitely think you have Evans and Godwin, but
yeah, they're one. But who would you say is two?
Well, you definitely make a point, but the problem is not only Baker Mayfield, but also Odell Beckham. And we're on with Nick Citro, Bucs Report analyst here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, your pro football edition here. Again, open phone line 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Odell Beckham, when he's motivated and when it seems like he's got his head in the game, he could be one of the best wide receivers. But the one thing is, he doesn't seem like he's got his head in the game. He's already talked about, Nick, in the offseason retiring all the way back from 2017, and he can't stay healthy. Tell you what, let's go out to the phone lines here. We'll take some questions for you. Mr. Matt Colson from Oklahoma City leading it off here on the Evolution. Yours truly, along with Mr. Nick Citro, Bucs Report analyst. What's your question or what's your comment?
Man, you got no love for Baker.
No love, buddy. You know why? Because you had no love for Winston. I got no love for Baker Mayfield. And I'm going to tell you why I don't have any love for Baker Mayfield, because it's exactly what Nick just said. You have could be two of the best wide receivers. You got some tight ends there. You even got defensive talent, but yet the Browns struggle. Why? Because Baker Mayfield, to me.
With that dumbass coach they had.
Well, I mean, but they're going to have a new coach this year. And what's the effect of this, guys? I mean, Stefanski coming in from Minnesota. Can he solidify this group? Does he have enough time to get the most out of a Baker Mayfield?
Anybody's got to be better than Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah, I guess.
That guy was a moron. I just think, soften up on him a little bit.
Soften up on a little bit? Okay, so what are we thinking here? Is Baker Mayfield going to lead the Browns to a division title with that division, by the way, with the Steelers and the Ravens? So what are they playing for, third place?
Well, I don't know if they're going for third place, but the Ravens are the cash cow this year.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely they are.
You kind of got to give them a little break on that. I'm just saying that last year was an outlier a little bit. He had nothing working for him. It's like Nick said, he was throwing balls, hit him into numbers, pops out, and he's losing a fumble or he's whatever. But it was the coaching that was so bad. They didn't have a play caller that was worth a damn. The guy didn't. I don't know how he got that job. I don't know who's running the damn store up there, but Cleveland's got weird personnel when they bring them in. That it just doesn't make any sense. They keep a losing coach for a decade. And then they finally get replace him with this moron from wherever.
I mean, Matt and Nick, am I being too hard on Baker Mayfield? I mean, is this the year he's going to turn it around with this new coaching staff? Or is the excuse going to be, well, they had a new coaching staff, but because of COVID, they weren't able to get enough time? Am I being too hard on Baker here, Nick?
I think a little bit, but I mean, Freddie Kitchens was awful. His play calling was atrocious. If you look at sort of their play calling the first 8 games and the play calling the second half, it was completely night and day. And the thing that is even more irritating is when Hugh Jackson was the head coach, they sort of did the exact same thing where the play calling was awful the first 8 games. They figured out Baker's strengths, and then they sort of adjusted from there. And then Freddie Kitchens goes, oh, wait, never mind. I forgot how to actually do that. And then goes right back to what they were doing when it didn't work with Hugh Jackson. That's what really irritates me. But if you look at adjusted interceptions, I just pulled it up on Football Outsiders. Baker actually had 23, which is 2 more than his total, which kind of surprised me. Jameis Winston, by the way, had 40. So the second highest was Phillip Rivers with 26. I think Baker Mayfield can do it. He has the tools to do it. I think he's a natural leader. It just comes down to, can the team around him perform?
So bet on Baker this year, right, Matt?
Well, I bet on him to be better.
Okay.
He's going to be more what he was in Oklahoma than what he was last year in Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
where he had more commercials. I think the quote was, he had more commercials than he did touchdown passes.
Yeah, I think
So,
Alex Fleming said that.
One of you guys said it. It's stuck in my head now like a tattoo on the back of my eyes.
Jeez,
terrible.
That's a scary thought, Matt.
Yeah, it is. It's sad. You brought him up, and I was wanting to make an omelet for dinner, and now I changed my mind. I just got.
There you go. You can't make an omelet now. No vegetable omelet for you, my friend. What else? Anything else?
that's it for now. I'm gonna let y'all have fun.
All right,
I'll
Matt.
talk to you later.
I appreciate you, buddy. There you go. Good stuff there. Open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Nick Citro, our Bucs report, if I can talk tonight. Analyst here on the Landry Football Network. So pumped up. So the false positive by Matt Stafford, his wife, Kelly Stafford, who, if you remember, had brain surgery, said that it was a complete nightmare. And of course, it's great that Stafford is, he's now not positive for COVID-19 because it was thrown out there that he was positive. But what she says is our school told us they were not allowed back, saying the kids. I was approached in a grocery store and told I was endangering others. My kids were harassed and kicked off the playground. I was told I needed to wait in my car when trying to pick up food, and the people closest to us had to get tested just so they could go back to work. She goes on to say about the NFL ripping them, and I'm going to ask your opinion and ask everybody's opinion out there, the webheads themselves. These are people's lives and livelihoods that are in those results in those test sites. Maybe we should be absolutely positive a person has COVID before releasing that info to the world. Your thoughts on this? Because she definitely makes a great point. But then again, we're living in 2020 right now, so false positives are definitely a part of this. But as we've seen here with these comments, people just kind of go crazy. And I get it. Nobody's ever dealt with a global pandemic, but it's kind of ridiculous not to get the positive result. If somebody's positive, they're positive. To have a false positive can definitely have some repercussions.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are getting tested every single day. So I don't know how many times Matthew Stafford had a false positive. If it was just once and the next day he came back and it was negative. But I thought her comments were a little bit confusing, where she was basically saying that she wasn't happy that the NFL released this info because now everybody kind of knew that he supposedly had COVID and it affected her life in this way. My question would be, if the NFL didn't release it and he had COVID, a positive test, would you have just been walking around with your daily life and possibly spreading it to other people? So that's, I didn't really understand. I get what she's saying, but I guess my question back to her would be, if the NFL didn't release it, would you be taking any precautions? Because that's kind of the vibe I was getting, is that she was just going to ignore it. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know what your perspective was.
Do you feel like people, or like the NFL, should release those test results or they should release them unless they're completely sure? Because if you're not sure about something, you take a couple of tests and then you release it, and then it's a false positive, which, again, it's a great thing that he is, because now he's going to be able to contribute and be a quarterback for the Lions this year. But once again, there's also those side effects when releasing something like that, because people start to lose their So should the NFL be taking more precautions on their end until they positively know about it? Should they be releasing those results?
I think in their mind, they thought they were positive about it. I mean, they came back positive. They're thinking, okay, Matt Stafford has COVID. I think moving forward, it should be you have 2 positive tests in a row or 3 positive tests in a row. I don't think 1 is enough. I understand where she's coming from, where they, the team kind of just released it to the world. Matthew Stafford has COVID. Now, everywhere she goes, she's going to get harassed. And that's, it's kind of a nightmare. But
right.
It is what it is. We live in 2020. People are going to overreact to everything right now. I'm not a fan of teams kind of just releasing it to the public and saying, okay, this guy has COVID, and everyone knowing about it, unless the player's okay with it, or if the player tweets it out or says it in a press conference or whatever. I don't really like the team just coming out and saying it.
Yeah, I mean, Gardner Minshew was also a false positive. So I've seen these type of things happen, especially with quarterbacks, which it's good for those respective teams. But then again, you kind of worry, you kind of wonder about, again, the repercussions of that situation. Tell you what, let's go out to the webheads here, talk to these guys here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Dre says, what's up, man? How you doing? Yash says, go Bucs. Bring your passion. Tough Bucs podcast in the house. Citro says, Bucs Report, asked Nick where the hell his AMA is. Where is your Ask Me Anything, by the way? That's the AMA. Where has that been, buddy?
Listen, I was on vacation in Rhode Island last week, so I didn't do it then, and I've been busy with school stuff. I'm gonna bring it back next week, I promise. Tuesday, 2:00, Facebook Live, Bucs Report. Ask me anything. It can be football. It can be pretty much anything. Ask me anything, whatever you want.
So who's overrated again as a singer?
Who's overrated?
Yeah, is Prince overrated? Prince and Michael Jackson, you said they're overrated.
Overrated, yeah. Not a fan.
Why? Why would
I was waiting for you to bring that up. I don't think their music's that great. Sorry.
Well, because you weren't around back then. That's the reason. Why?
Well, that's not true. I like Aerosmith. I wasn't around then. I like Kiss. I wasn't around then.
But you didn't like the music, but you think they're overrated because you don't like their music, or you don't like the message of their music?
I don't think their music is that catchy. I mean, the message is. I like the message. I just wasn't a fan. Sorry.
All right. Well,
everyone in the group chat was getting all hot and heavy because of this.
Disagree with him. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I tell you right now, let's go out to.
You're gonna have a mob of people coming at me. So thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Welcome back to the Sports Web, buddy. Missed you. All right, let's go out to the dude here. Dude, welcome to the Evolution. What's on your mind?
I was on vacation in Rhode Island.
Oh my God! Yeah. What am I, British? It's no different than you guys going to West Palm Beach or wherever you guys vacation.
I haven't had a vacation in 12 years. I mean, that's a true story. I mean, it's ridiculous. I need to take a vacation, a 2-week vacation.
Hey, Nick, when Floridians want to go on vacation, they just walk outside.
That's it.
Yeah, but it's also like 1,000 degrees, so.
Very true. Very true. All right, dude.
Hey, what's going on tonight, guys?
Oh, well, we're talking about Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns, the false positive with Matt Stafford, and we're about to get into the Bucs. We talked a little bit of Levante David to begin the show. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I feel like the words false positive is kind of a really good description of Stafford's career.
Wow.
Matt Coulson, bad take, but you're Matt Coulson. Let's see. We got Nick on right now. Nick has been on vacation, basically in the Hamptons, and but he's still, ladies and gentlemen, he still manages to build that Twitter following and do all that stuff. So, well done, great job by the young up and coming. What's he? The contender, Peter? Joshua Cole Allen.
Joshua Cole Allen, one of the youngest rising stars here on Bucs Report. Welcome to the family, my friend. He started his show off at 7:30 with the Audible, and he absolutely crushed it tonight. So once again, we are glad to have him a part of this family, which is a crazy family, by the way. You got Nick, you've got Joshua Cole Allen. I mean, come on, Keith, help me out here. This guy says that Prince and Michael Jackson are overrated. Now, help me out here with this.
Well, I mean, and Nick knows I'm not saying this derogatorily, but Nick's a millennial. So
right.
For the older adults in the room, the war between, or the argument between who was better, Michael Jackson and Prince. Well, first of all, they're both dead, so there's that. But Prince stayed alive longer, and Prince didn't touch children, so there's that.
I think that's allegedly, but I don't know.
Wait, hold on, rewind. Allegedly.
Yes, it's not a good thing, though. I agree. So.
Peter, you know what you haven't done since you brought Nick back on the show?
What's that?
You haven't fired the cannons.
Oh, here we go.
Oh. How many sounds you got back there now? You got 3 or 4?
Here's what I think of when you say Prince and Michael Jackson are overrated. Ready?
No.
Or this.
I like the booing one better.
You like the booing one better?
That's just an angry mob.
Hey.
Yeah.
The game show sound effect might be a little too old for Nick. That's some 70s, 80s shit right there. I mean, stuff. Oops. We cussed. Hey, real quick.
Yes.
Because I want to see Nick's face. I've already seen Peter respond to this, but real quick, hey Nick,
Yeah.
we need to know what you think about LaShawn McCoy and the Buccaneers.
Are you trying to get something out of me, or
I'm gonna get into
No.
that moment here.
are you genuinely asking?
I think the answer would be both.
Well, I think he is a solid option in the passing game. He's probably going to get 5 to 10 touches, per game. Bruce Arians already said he's the lead back. But the way that he carries the ball absolutely drives me insane, where he just kind of, he holds it sometimes just like this and run. I mean, it drives me insane the way he carries the football. I cannot stand it. That's what I'm sure you were trying to get at. Am I correct?
Well, I mean, we had Rick Hughes go in on Gerald McCoy last night. I figured another night, another McCoy. Let's get someone to go in. So go in. Come on, let's hear it, man. Why is this a bad thing?
Why is signing him a bad thing? It's not a bad thing. I think they had Keyshawn Vaughn go on the COVID or reserve/COVID list, whatever you want to call it. And when you have a veteran running back who is coming into a room that's pretty young, I think it's a good thing. He's not going to be the lead guy. He's really the only experienced pass catcher on the entire team. I mean, you want to say Dario Gumbawale, he's fine. I think he's pretty expendable, as I've talked about. I mean, I like the signing in general. Just the way he carries the ball is irritating. He had 3 fumbles last year in 9 games. I mean, not great.
No, not great at all. And all right, one more thing. Mm-hmm. Exactly what the hell is Jordan Whitehead on?
Why? Because he got the pictures released with his massive biceps.
He's looking like Michael Pittman, but hopefully
the entire secondary is looking like they're on steroids. I'll be honest with you.
they all roided up. I got PEDs. Hopefully not, but they definitely look like they've been in the gym. So they're not quarantining like the rest of us. They're just eating fatty food and laying around watching NFL Network or whatever else. They're definitely working out in the gym. And Jordan
Sean Murphy Bunting, they had a picture of him too. I mean, he put on 20 pounds. I think Jordan Whitehead was always a big hitter, so I think it'll benefit him. But I mean, the guys in the secondary were not messing around this offseason. I'll tell you that.
No, they're definitely.
Jordan Whitehead got so big, his tattoos don't even fit anymore. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that picture was pretty insane.
and then you got Ronald Jones, who put on weight. What we just spoke about, Murphy Bunting, Jordan Whitehead. Are we noticing a pattern here?
Well,
everyone putting on weight.
Everybody's putting on weight, but everybody has a commitment. As I've said before, Johnny Dean, a Super Bowl or a bust, and that mindset has been do whatever it takes to get bigger, get faster, and get ready to compete for a Super Bowl. That's where I'm at on this.
Yeah, it feels like they're almost trying to send the message: bigger, faster, stronger. If nothing else, more physical. I mean, the safety they drafted, Winfield Jr., he's known to be able to play in the box or lay the wood or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
And I don't think it's a coincidence we go on a pandemic lockdown for 4 months and Whitehead comes back looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, so I'll say this. So far, what we've seen in camp, has been nothing. It's been crap. I think we've had 10-yard, 12-yard passes, sprints, stretches, and they threw a medicine ball today, guys. How about that?
How about that?
With Will Golston throwing a medicine ball with I don't even remember who it was. That was a highlight of training camp. It sucks. I'm gonna be honest. It sucks. I miss the highlight videos in training camp.
Do we really think that 14 days of padded practice will get every team ready, especially
No. That's why the teams that snuck off and did these secret practices will be the ones that are ahead of the game.
Bingo.
And whether people like it or not, hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I guess that's the way to look at it. I'm excited because right now we've seen 3 or 4 days of underwear Olympics, basically, and short patterns, and basically like a bunch of guys went outside to have a game of catch. When they start lining up and we start seeing some plays, 7-on-7 and all that good stuff, then I'll start getting excited. But I think let's put to rest. We saw a couple long throws, or there was at least reports of some long throws. Brady's arm supposedly looks like it's good, like it's alive. So
yeah. I heard that whole rumor before he was signed, and there's some people subscribing to this that he can't throw deep anymore. But once again, having Nick Seater on here break down the film, and even Stephen Shea break down the film on him, he could still definitely throw deep. So that's definitely going to come in handy. And I'm going to laugh when he most likely will put up some career numbers this year in this offense with all the weapons he has. Because
just go back and watch Week 1 against the Steelers last year, and then come back and tell me Tom Brady doesn't have an arm. Because if you watch him, you don't see it.
And here's the thing, though. Let's be honest. The power or the weapons that he has at his disposal, even if he does the dink and dunk all game, he's going to have a tremendous completion percentage, and he'll end up with 300 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. Now, I'm just worried if he's going to want to be trying to prove it's not Belichick so much that he forces a couple balls. Now, he's the GOAT. You would think that wouldn't happen, but that's the only thing I can see going wrong, or, of course, unless something happens physically, but we won't go there.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he's trying to force something. I don't think Tom Brady cares how he wins the game as long as he wins. I don't really care either. If he can hand the ball 50 times and the Bucs win the game, then by all means go do it. I don't think Tom Brady cares at all.
Yeah, he's got a plethora of wide receivers, one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL, one of the best tight end cores in the NFL. So to me, those groupings itself, the big time question is, can you get enough out of the running game, which we'll get back to in a moment with Bruce Arians and his presser today on LaShawn McCoy, and of course Ronald Jones, how he feels about them. And then on top of it, I think it's the offensive line. It's always the offensive line. 47 sacks. Was that more of a product of Winston holding the ball, which is what we've heard from Chris Landry about a month ago, or was the offensive line not very good? And if they're not very good, what's the long-term effect on a 43-year-old quarterback in Brady?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
It was Winston holding on the ball too long, and the offensive line, I think they were average, but, I don't think they were awful. If you look at Tom Brady's offense, ask any Patriots fan how Tom Brady's offensive line was last year,
right,
and they'll tell you about a bad offensive line. So
really bad offensive line, and still threw for 24 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, and supposedly he's on the decline. I don't see it at all. I think this guy is in great shape. I think his mental capacity and his drive and determination is going to supersede anything and anybody that's saying about him. And he has a chip on his shoulder, Nick, and the dude where he wants to accomplish some great things without Belichick. So nobody can say, well, it was just Belichick that pushed him. No, he wants to be Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, trying to win a Super Bowl for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020.
Yes.
All right, good stuff. Get you out of here on that. Thanks a lot for coming on the show here. We're on with Nick Seater here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web Pro Football Edition on the Landry Football Network. Open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to the webheads here. What's up, Jake? I guess Joshua Allen on before. Once again, he's in the chat. Great show, best virtual edit video. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that's static you got there going on. 100 love it, says sitting. Joshua Cole Allen, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Had me laughing. Ben Cornett says, I don't see a huge name opting out, but I can see a middle to upper star player or 2 opting out tomorrow. 8 Patriots have already opted out. What is the effect on the Patriots without those opt-outs? Did you see them as a playoff team? Now what do you see them as?
I definitely saw them as a playoff team just because that division is so weak, and the signing of Cam Newton, I think, elevated that even further. 8 players opting out on one team seems incredibly fishy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Does it not? I think Bill Belichick's got some kind of scheme. He's tanking for a quarterback. I don't know what is going on up there, but something just does not seem right.
No, something's not right, and you know what? He may feel like Cam is not necessarily 100%. But I feel bad for Newton because he's going into a situation where you leave Carolina, you don't necessarily have a lot around him, and now he's going to the Patriots thinking that they're going to be a better team, and They most likely
I almost think too. A lot of people said the Patriots were doing the tanking method. I even think, maybe Bill Belichick was. I don't know how you could force somebody to opt out, but highly encouraging them so they could free up cap space and sign a Clowney or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on up there.
Nick, how long we got you on for tonight?
Till 10 o'clock, I believe.
All right, 10 o'clock. Well, we're going to have you on longer if you want to stay. It's up to you. You haven't been here a long time. So, but
Did you miss me?
I did miss you, buddy. I did. I missed having these debates about overrated, underrated. Who's an underrated musician, in your opinion?
Ooh, underrated. Man, I'd really have to think about that. I'm not going to throw out another answer just nonchalantly because it's going to get destroyed. I'll have to think about it and tell you next week.
All right. What about an underrated football player in the league besides Levante David? Who do you see
besides Levante David?
Besides Levante.
Man, I would say Devontae Parker. I think is a bit underrated. Wide receiver on the Dolphins has been in awful situations. I'm trying to think maybe defensively. I think former Buccaneer Bradley McDougald. I didn't know. I didn't like how they pretty much didn't offer him a contract, and he went to Seattle when the safety room was pretty much bare. I think Bradley McDougald is a underrated safety. I don't think he's an all-star by any means, but I think he's above average to good. Trying to think of another player. I mean, Josh Allen keeps coming to mind, but I don't know. I don't think he's got the arm strength, but man, he does not have the accuracy. I think he's just coming to mind because a lot of people say he's underrated. I'm not sure I necessarily agree. I think that division is just a cakewalk if the Patriots are back to everyone else's level. So I'd probably say Devontae Parker is one that comes to mind at the moment.
No concern about Allen and the chemistry with the Stephon Diggs, a young quarterback. A diva type of wide receiver who basically tried to force his way out with the Vikings. I get it. You didn't want to be with the Vikings who, by the way, we're going to the playoffs consistently every year. But now you go to the Buffalo Bills with a young quarterback. We've seen this happen before. Why should I think anything is different with this situation with Allen and Diggs?
Well, I think it depends on why he wanted to switch teams. And, I think every receiver has a bit of an ego. I think, you have an Adams, you have a Diggs and a Thielen. I think he wanted to be the number one guy, and going to Buffalo, they have John Brown, and now I think he's easily the de facto number one. But I think he is an all around wide receiver, meaning he can run routes. He's a decent red zone threat. I think he's solid, short yardage situations. If Josh Allen can't get him the ball, it's going to be another Odell Beckham situation. In terms of off the field antics. So I don't think he's as bad as Odell, but I could see that easily happening.
So you still believe in the Buffalo Bills in that division? Nobody else is going to challenge them, in your opinion? Not the Patriots, not the Dolphins.
No, the Patriots will, but Tom Brady's gone. It immediately makes it wide open, I think. Okay. It's the Patriots to lose still, as long as Bill Belichick is there, no matter what. But the Bills almost won that division last year. They had Tom Brady. They had Bill Belichick. You get rid of one of those pieces, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills won that division.
Okay. All right. Let's go out to the webheads here, get some more comments. Of course, Peter has no love for Baker Mayfield. That's from Matt. Absolutely great show by Josh. Let's see here. MyCannabisCard.com, one of the newest sponsors for medical marijuana here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Thanks, Dylan, Christopher Cole. Hey, guys, what's up? Stunning is stunning. I am back. Brady's been throwing dots all day, baby. Thank God, Nick Citro. What's that mean? Nick Citro should have a religion. Says stunning is stunning.
Like my own, like I should follow a religion, or I should be my own religion?
I have no idea. I feel like after that comment, I'm losing my religion. REM, if you don't know who that is, mid 80s, late 80s. What would your religion be if you had to if you had one? I
only bow down to one God. I guess there are multiple gods. Those are the football gods.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So no Citroism or something like those. Okay.
That sounds pretty good though. Citroism.
Yeah. There you go. See, I'm a creator here. Oh, I'm not even following him. Whoops.
That's a shame.
Claire has better hands than Howard.
Oh, he's just saying that because Rendax tweeted that today, and he saw me comment on it.
Well,
Get out of here with that nonsense.
Well, Douglas O'Connor actually is Rendax. Well, what's going on, Rendax?
Oh, it is.
That is.
I don't even think I knew his actual name.
That's a secret identity right there. I just revealed it. So there you go, Rendax. So how do you feel about that? Eclair over a Howard. I mean, we've talked about him and how he's a better blocker than Howard, how Howard has to improve his game. But do you feel like Eclair has better hands than Howard? No.
He's a blocking tight end, and that's all he'll be.
Okay.
Maybe, they have some of those plays in the red zone where they, throw out a tackle and pass to him. That's basically all Eclair's going to do. Howard had, hand issues last year, but he's just so far and away a better pass catcher than Eclair. It's not even close.
I feel like I'm saying Eclair like a Eclair, but I'm not.
Eclair. I don't know. These Canadians have weird names, I guess.
I mean, I like it's the dude. Stunning is stunning. Also, Lightning goes to the cup as they beat the Boston Bruins today. Joshua Cole Allen, just for you. Tyler Johnson with 1 minute and 27 seconds left in the third period buries it for the game winner as the Tampa Bay Lightning now have beaten the Washington Capitals and Boston Bruins. You're welcome. All right.
I hopped on the Lightning bandwagon because I've never really been a hockey fan, never really followed any hockey teams. So I'm just going to hop on the Lightning bandwagon now.
There you go. Boston Bruins are so bad. Ha, ha, ha. Says Best Virtual Edits video. He's still laughing. Brady is the GOAT. Christopher Cole, the dude abides. Dylan says 39 days till week 1 in New Orleans.
Ooh, it's coming quick.
It is. Thunder up 103-86. I don't know who that's over. Is that over the Lakers? That must be.
I don't know. I haven't been following it today.
Well, Nick, the Bucs decided to take the great Chris Conchi over McDougal. It's wild to think about Dylan and how many dude
sipples, like a disciple.
I guess the dude disciples. I don't know. I don't know what Ben Cornett's saying. He's always trolling at 1,000. But we do have an open phone line, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. I tell you what, let's go out to the Bruce Arians press conference today. First talk about Ronald Jones. We'll come back to that in a moment. So let me put you in the lobby really quick here, Nick. Stand by. And Bruce Arians did have a presser today where he was talking about what Ronald Jones brings to the table. Now, if you haven't heard how much I like Ronald Jones and feel like he's going to be the starter for this team, listen closely to Bruce Arians and what he's done in the offseason to earn his trust here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
No, Rojo's the main guy. He'll carry the load. All those other guys are fighting for roles. When who goes in second when he gets tired, maybe third down. Who's the third down guy? But they're all fighting for a role, and special teams will have a lot to do with that. But yeah, no, LaShawn, adding him, he's a great veteran. He's a very bright guy. He's already coaching those guys, helping them out, and yeah, he'll find his niche easily. Yeah, just the way he handled it. He improved dramatically from last April to December, and he's shown that he's a guy. He's a guy with a lot of talent. He's excellent in the screen game. He's run after catch is good. So it's just for him, how much can he expand it? And but I have all the confidence in the world. He put a lot of time working out, catching balls to improve his hands in the offseason, and it's showing up already.
All right, welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. So your thoughts on those comments? I mean, singing the praises of Mr. Ronald Jones, and I'll keep on saying this until somebody puts it on a T-shirt, a victim of volume. You've got to get him more carries. In fact, if you look at his last 2 games, 28 carries for 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. 28 carries is not enough for a running back like Ronald Jones. You got to give him the pill at least 20 to 25 times a game, because if you can do that, then I feel like he gets out to that second and third level. He can really be dynamic.
Yeah, it was incredibly frustrating last season with Peyton Barber and kind of the split carries. It seemed like one player would get hot, they'd switch him out, even though they said they were doing the opposite. It was, their approach to it last year made no sense. I think with Peyton Barber gone, it's going to be Ronald Jones. I still don't think he's going to get 25 carries with LaShawn McCoy, I don't think is going to happen. Maybe before that signing, but I think he's more 15 to 20. They're going to put in McCoy's going to get 5 to 10 touches. Keyshawn Vaughn's healthy. He's probably going to get 5 to 7, and that'll probably be it. But one thing I really love about Bruce Arians is compared to other coaches, he usually tells the truth. And I know he said we weren't looking at running backs, but that was before Keyshawn Vaughn got put on the COVID list. I mean, he said that Ronald Jones was good in the screen game. He was fantastic. We've talked about that a lot. I mean, going back to the combine, I think it was Ian Rappaport said, "What is your plan at the quarterback situation?" And he literally just laid it out for the whole world, exactly how it was. I love Bruce Arians' pressers because he tells you exactly what he's doing.
No, he does. Sometimes he does, and sometimes he kind of talks a little bit in riddles and says something, but you got to catch it. He was talking about LaShawn McCoy and what he could bring to the table. So let me put you back in the lobby here. We will go out to what Bruce Arians said and what McCoy can bring to this offense on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a heck of a receiver. That's the one thing that got me excited. Having played against him all these years, he's a hell of a receiver, and he's still got a very explosive first step. So I think that'll be a big part of it.
All right, and that's been the thing. Welcome back to the Sports Web, the Pro Football Edition here on Bucs Report on the Landry Football Network. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Nick Citro, Bucs Report analyst. Open phone line, Douglas O'Connor, Rendax, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. We've talked about LaShawn McCoy, over 11,000 yards rushing in his career. Only second to Adrian Peterson with his statistics and rushing and touchdowns and catches. And that's the big thing. Not only the veteran leadership, he's done it before. Is he the same Shady McCoy he was just a couple years ago? I don't think so. But in your opinion, what does he bring to this Bucs offense that you can't really put a number on?
He brings, like you said, he brings the veteran leadership, and he brings pass-catching ability that nobody else on this team has. I suppose you could argue Keyshawn Vaughn, Ogunbowale. I think Vaughn is obviously unproven. Ogunbowale is, below average. He is the prototype pass-catching back at this point in his career. He's not going to get 20 carries like he did maybe in Buffalo or on the Eagles. Ronald Jones is good in the screen game, but he hasn't proven himself with any other routes, and his route tree was basically just screens, and that's it. I think LaShawn McCoy, you can split him out wide, you can put him in the backfield. I mean, you can do – this offense is just insane, the plays that Bruce Arians has come up with. I mean, you could have Ronald Jones next to Brady on the left. You could have Shady on the right. You could have Mike Evans split out, Gronk tight end, Chris Godwin on the other side. I mean, that's an insanely stacked offense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's an insane stacked offense with wide receivers, tight ends. You have all kinds of options at the running back situation. You don't know how effective Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be, but there's high expectations with him. We've already spoke about Jones, and then getting a veteran guy that can basically be your third down back and catch out of the backfield, because we all know that Tom Brady likes to throw to his running backs. And even McCoy spoke about this the other day in his presser, of how he's talked to Dion Lewis and now how he's going to talk to James White. So already McCoy's got a great idea of he's trying to get an idea of what to expect from a Brady-led offense, right?
Yeah, he's going to catch on pretty fast. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's been in the league for almost 10 years now. Like you said, I think he had, don't quote me on this stat, but I think I read on Twitter that he had the second most touchdowns this decade for a non-quarterback besides Gronk, who was number one.
Yep.
So,
save that thought. Let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Mr. Nick Citro, Bucs Report analyst. What's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, Mr. Rendax.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. Long time no hear, buddy.
Yeah, it's you've been cranking out and Nick come on the scene this year. It's been really fun to watch. I dip in and out probably just about every night to see what you're talking about, but because I haven't been putting out a lot of pods, it's hard to watch 3 hours of hey, Shaq Barrett said something. Let's talk about it. So, but, you know,
I remember your statement.
You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. But I remember your statement. If it's not about the Bucs, you're like, I don't care. And you ask, I don't care. I was so funny. I thought that was so funny. We definitely should coin that. But thanks a lot for joining us here, Rendak. So what do you think about McCoy signing here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Do you like it? I mean, are you getting into these expectations and everything that's been talked about in the offseason?
Yeah, you know, I'm there. You know, I'm with Nick on, you know, try this.
Oh, I think we're losing here, Ren. What's going on?
Hello?
Yeah, we're losing you there, buddy. Go ahead now. Go
Hello?
for it. Yeah, go ahead for it. Yeah. You there?
Hello?
Yeah, you have to call back or something. I think we're losing you here. You got a bad signal or something, bad cell.
Hello?
Yeah, there you are. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, sorry. For some reason, my new headset doesn't work with my phone that well.
Oh, that's all right. That happens.
For the third time, I agree with Nick on I'm there. You know, Bruce tried this last year with Andre Ellington and just didn't take. He couldn't beat out Dario Ngwabale. And as soon as, you know, Shady was signed, I was thinking, like, Dari's the guy's in trouble. Like, it's not Ronald Jones. It's not going to be any of the two rookies. You know, Clay's going to be a return guy. So it's basically to come in there for a third down presence where he can make somebody miss, because if you watch in training camp, Dari can make people miss in training camp, but if he get in a game, I don't know if he panicked or like the game hadn't slowed down for him enough, but he just kind of turned to Peyton Barber. He'd catch the ball, turn around, put his head down, and fall forward for 2 yards. With Shady, he's going to be able to, you know, take a 4-yard pass and pick up the first down if it's like 3rd and 7. He's going to be able to do that sometimes, and Dari just can't. So the veteran presence and what he can do out of the backfield, I think it's going to be a nice little, like Bruce said today, a niche. It's going to be a nice niche for him to be a Buccaneer. Like Nick said, you know, on games they don't need him, he may touch the ball 3 times. If games they need him, he might have like 9 catches and 2 carries.
Yeah, I mean, and that's okay. And he even said, you know, the Bucs are trying to build something special. And of course, that was our own Joshua Cole Allen asking that question, which he did a phenomenal job of here for Bucs Report. But he believes that, you know, they're building something special. You have all these weapons. Of course, you have Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. What's your biggest question mark with the Bucs for 2020, Ren?
Defensive line.
Okay.
Like where's the depth on the edge? You know, right now you got Anthony Nelson, the first guy off the bench, who's played a total of like 3 or 4 games. He hurt his hamstring in preseason. Took him a couple weeks in the season to get healthy. Came into games. He made some splash plays. I think he caught the fumble, batted down a pass. You know, you noticed him every once in a while for the very small amount of time he was in there.
Right.
But then he hurt his hamstring again. He was gone all year. So that's your next guy up off the bench. So, you know, they're going to be leaning heavily on their draft pick. I just call him Chappelle. He can play inside. Divinity from LSU, like they might be leaning heavily on them. I know they like Bell and Daniels from last year. So, you know, these undrafted rookies from last year and this year in the late round pick, like those are the guys that are going to have to step up, and they're going to play some significant snaps. And then on the interior, again, like no Bo Allen. So the next guy off the bench is Nacho. I like Nacho. I think you can upgrade for sure, but he's number 4 on the interior defensive line. So, you know, that's where I think we're the thinnest. But I guess the most positive thing you can say about it is that Shaq and JP rarely come off the field. So it's not as big as a deal if, like, you know, you were the Giants who continually rotate players, or the Eagles.
And we're on right now with Rendax of the Pewtercast, who we've had his buddy on, Brent Allen, here a couple times. Got to get you guys back together here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, your pro football edition of the Sports Web, live on the Landry Football Network. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Nick Citro, Bucs Report analyst. We got Kyle Keck coming up here in just a couple minutes. So Ren, Shaq Barrett, you know, much has been made about him signing that 1-year deal. Do you think eventually the Bucs will get that long-term deal? And what do you think about the prospects of him duplicating that performance he had last year?
Yeah, we all heard the press conference. We're all in this really deep. Like we care about the Bucs way too much. So we've watched Shaq Barrett say that if it wasn't for COVID, that a lot more progress might have been made. But basically, the Bucs told him, like, we don't know where the salary cap's going to be next year. Look, here's $15 million. It's more than 3 times the amount of money you've ever made in one single year. And we want you here. We'll keep you here. And we'll do everything we can to sign you long-term next year. But we need to find out what that cap number is. And he went, okay. So, that's where it's going to stand until we find out what that cap number is. And then as far as 19.5, no, he's not going to get 19.5 next year.
He has the potential. I tell you that right now. His motor is nonstop, Ren. You saw it last year. His counter moves, the way he works with his hands. I mean, he is a complete and total player when it comes off. When you're talking about an edge player, he looks like he's complete.
Right, but I'm not, and I agree with you. I think he's a good player. I think, and now he's a very good player.
Right.
If you just take that one season, he's an elite rusher. Even if you look at his pressures, I agree as well. But 19.5 sacks is rare.
That's true.
That just, only one other person came close to that, and that was, was it Campbell? Calais Campbell? No,
it was
for Arizona.
I'm thinking, it wasn't Calais Campbell. Who was it that came close? We know that Strahan has the record, but the kid,
Strahan is like 22, but Shaq was battling that guy from Arizona,
right?
Tooth and nail going down the stretch, and you got to remember
Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones.
Yes.
After 4 weeks, Shaq had 9 sacks and like 2 fumble recoveries and a pick. Like he had like he just shot out of the gate, and without sort of a Carl Nassib on the other side, because when they figured Shaq out and JPP wasn't there, like he started to slow down. And then JPP came back. Right when JPP came back, Carl Nassib went down. And then when Carl Nassib came back, that's when he had that late burst. So he very much plays on, for Shaq to get those numbers, he's going to need Sue, Thea, Golson, JPP to have good years as well. Because if any of those guys can be handled one-on-one consistently, then he doesn't get his one-on-one on the edge. And, he's like, there's really, nobody since Lauren Taylor could consistently beat a double team coming off the edge. And that's just what he's in for this year. There's going to be no 9 sacks in 4 weeks because no one knows who the hell he is.
Right. But you're going to have JPP on that side, hopefully healthy, knock on wood. And then, like you said, Anthony Nelson, for me, I think he's going to be a standout 4th round pick. I get it. Didn't play a lot last year, only 9 tackles. But like you said, he showed flashes of brilliance when he got in there. Anything else, Rendax?
Yeah, well, the reason I called was to talk about Anthony Auclair's hands.
We'll go for
it. Yeah. Anthony Auclair's hands are better than O.J. Howard. I didn't I didn't say he's a better pass catching option. I didn't say he's a better athlete. I didn't say that if I was going to pick one and I needed one tight end that I would take Anthony Auclair. I'm telling you that Anthony Auclair has better hands than O.J. Howard. But let's face it, it's not a high bar. Especially, like Nick, you admitted last year, like O.J. Howard would not be in the NFL if he couldn't run a sub 4.5 being the size that he is as a tight end. Because he doesn't have the instincts, he doesn't have the hands, and he doesn't have the blocking ability. He's just a freak athlete that just needs to figure one of those things out pretty quick. Because this is a make it or break it year for O.J. Howard. He's only hit his floor of his expectation as a Buccaneer.
Mm-hmm.
He's never got close to his ceiling. He's never sort of, I guess his second year you could start to see the potential. Okay, here we go. And then he had disastrous third year. It was awful for a 1st round pick tight end. It was bad.
Yeah, I agree.
So just taking the hands into effect, Anthony Auclair has better hands than O.J. Howard. And I'm sorry, I've been.
Oh man, I don't know if I can get on board with that still.
You don't have to. It's fine. But I've been to every single practice since Anthony Auclair's been a Buccaneer. And I'm telling you, he has better hands than O.J. Howard. But again, it's not a high bar. I may have better hands than O.J. Howard.
Oh, now that's getting a little extreme.
No, Red. Let me ask you this really quick, and then we get you out of here because we got to get Kyle Keck on one of our writers.
Yeah.
Do you think Rob Gronkowski helps that tight end room out, gets O.J. Howard teaches them not only, some tricks of how to be a professional, but has a big time impact.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I thought of when, that surprise signing came out. I was like, whoa, what?
Mm-hmm.
Was the first thing that ran through my head is not only is he there as a security blanket for Tom Brady, but he's also there to get O.J. Howard on track, get his, make him be the player that we think he can be. And so, it's kind of like last year with Bruce Arians, when Jameis Winston, like, well, if Bruce can't do it, no one can do it. And it's going to be this year with O.J. Howard. If Gronkowski can't, help this guy along and you see a noticeable progression, then, I think you got to cut bait with the guy.
I think you're exactly right, but I think O.J. Howard this year can have a breakout year because the pressure is not on him to be the number one focused tight end because of Gronkowski. Good stuff, Rendax, a.k.a. Douglas O'Connor here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Definitely don't be a stranger, all right, my friend?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, there you go. Good stuff. So, Nick, let's get you out of here. Go ahead and promote yourself, and then we will get Kyle Keck on.
Sure thing. Going to be short and sweet. So obviously posting articles weekly, Bucs Report, Twitter. I pretty much am on Twitter 24/7. I think I have an addiction to Twitter. At Nick Citro. I mean, I'm on there all the time. You want to talk basketball, baseball, football, whatever it is. Don't be a stranger in the DMs. I talk to people all the time about the Bucs, one-on-one. It's just, I think it's fun. So follow me on Twitter, bucksport.com. Keep it here. We got you covered.
All right, good stuff. There you go, Nick Citro. Thanks a lot for coming on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, all right?
All right, see you in 2 months, Peter.
Oh, don't.
I'm just kidding. All
right, see you soon, buddy.
I'll see you soon. Thanks.
All right, there you go. All right, so let's read the webhead comments, and then we will get out to Kyle Keck here, one of the writers on Bucs Report, just tongue-tied, but you have Ren Dax that's calling in. You have people talking about this Bucs team and the high expectations. And then, of course, you've got the webheads here tonight. So Auction of Champions is one. There you go. Tim Hawthorne. Shady was a great pickup for the Bucs. How about those Bolts? The Lightning are looking great. They absolutely are looking great, and they're doing it without a Steven Stamkos. Just imagine when they can get him back. You kind of are concerned, right? Because they have big leads in both of those contests, or lead against the Capitals and, of course, the Bruins, but they keep on losing the faceoffs, committing stupid penalties, although the referees today were really blind. There were some bad calls in that game, and I have no idea how that player, Ricky, was not thrown out in the second period with the cheap shot he put on a Lightning player. I have no idea, but yeah, I watch hockey too. There you go. Ren with the Cricket Wireless, Christopher Cole. Just can't believe that on Pro Football Talk, the first 30 minutes to an hour is nothing but COVID talk. It's supposed to be Pro Football Talk, not Pro COVID talk. Laugh out loud. Was the first 30 minutes of this program, Christopher Cole, all COVID talk? I don't think so. We talked Levante David. We talked about Matt Stafford and his situation. So it was related to COVID, but it wasn't all opt-outs. But we got to be realistic about it. It's not all ice cream and rainbows here. We can't just talk about the Bucs and all the teams around the NFL without talking about COVID and opt-outs. You just can't do it. There's 50 players out there that have opted out, and there may be more. I appreciate the passion. We do everything we can here on the sports web to talk football, but at the end of the day, we also have to be serious about the situation and give you some reality to it. So I'm sorry if you were disappointed with that, but I felt like we kind of mixed it in with all that. Enough with the Bruins, guys. I think if Shaq gets over 15 sacks this year, they will definitely sign him to a long-term deal, as they should. Canadians have the best hand, says Andrew Fulbert, the big board out of Canada. Did anyone know that Brait went to Harvard? That he did. Kyle Keck up next with the latest NFL and Bucs coverage. Absolutely. Andrew Fulbert, except the French Canadians. Everyone knew, Chris, you're light here years late, and their young players are playing much better for the Bolts. Absolutely. Let's go out to Mr. Kyle Keck here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, Pro Football Edition. Welcome. And everybody's saying all the COVID talk, all you're talking about COVID, but Kyle Keck, there's been 50 players that have opted out. The deadline is tomorrow. In your opinion, according to this Jeremy Fowler report from ESPN, would you expect some superstars to possibly opt out by tomorrow?
I wouldn't be that surprised. We're at a point now to where, again, we're up at that deadline with the opt-out deadline coming up tomorrow at 4 p.m. And we're getting to a point to where things are getting really serious. I think that some players are starting to see what this entire situation looks like at training camp, testing every day, making sure that we're all in the right places. We're not doing anything stupid outside of the facilities or anything like that. And I think, like Nick mentioned earlier, I think we might see a superstar maybe opt out and think, hey, I've got plenty of money in the bank. I've got plenty of endorsement deals going on here. I don't need my big contract for this year. I can opt out. I can be safe and kick it with my family for this year and still train and be ready for the next year. But at the same time, I do maybe still kind of think, though, that I'm going back and forth. I think we'll either see 1 to 2 superstars. The thing is, if one superstar opts out, close to that deadline, I think it will be more than one. We'll see, maybe 3 to 4. I think, because all it takes is one. And then it points out to the one guy like, hey, this guy's onto something. But if we don't see anybody opt out, any superstar opt out by 3 p.m. tomorrow, I don't think we'll see a single one.
All right, good stuff. I tell you what, I got to relax Christopher Cole here because he's saying all I'm talking about is COVID talk here. But Bruce Arians had some great comments today on how they're going to try to curtail all this from going on. So let me put you in the lobby here really quick, and we'll get back to this, and you can comment on it. And we will go out to Bruce Arians and what he's going to do with these protocols here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
Not last week. That's about a month or so ago before I saw the protocols. And right now, I don't think they will. Once I saw the protocols and what's in place here at the facilities and testing on Friday, they shouldn't be playing against anybody that's sick on Sunday. And there might be a rare occurrence. So I feel very comfortable that they won't get sick in the football atmosphere. If they're going to get sick, it's going to be outside the building. And we talked long and hard about that in our first meeting. I wasn't happy the first day of staying far apart on the field. We were still clustered too close together, talking to each other, coaching guys, and they were too close together, and so we're learning every day to make that commitment even better every day to adjust to this lifestyle now.
So you feel much better about it than when you made those comments a
Yeah,
while back?
I think I made those in June before I knew anything about what was going to happen. And now I'm totally convinced it's good, or I wouldn't be here.
There you go. Very telling comments. Welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web live here on Bucs Report Pro Football Edition. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Kyle Keck. Yes, he is the son of the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28. But Kyle Keck is one of the great writers here on Bucs Report. Your thoughts on those comments? I mean, Bruce Arians put it out there. They're not going to get sick in the building. We're going to do everything we can with adhering to these protocols. And if we didn't, I wouldn't be here coaching. Your thoughts?
I mean, I think he's spot on. I mean, again, Bruce is no one to BS. So whatever he says, he's going to say it straight. And I think when he says if he didn't feel comfortable with what was going on, he wouldn't be there. I think he's right on, because he falls right into that hard category of people that are high risk, just at his age alone, and then his past health battles. And I think he's spot on again with saying, hey, they're not going to get sick here. We're testing every day. If you get tested positive, you're on the COVID list and you can't come back after a certain amount of days, and you got to test positive 2 times to get back in, test negative to get back in. And on top of that, I think that the NFL is now at a point, because we're in training camp, we're a couple of days in or a week in, and we're seeing people opt out, but we're not seeing a lot of players that are testing positive. We're seeing some players go onto the COVID list, which doesn't mean that they have the virus. It just means they may have been around someone that did have it, or that does have it, so they need to quarantine. And I think the NFL is picking up on the NBA. They're picking up on the NHL. These guys are in their bubbles. Those leagues are in their bubbles. which for those leagues, it's a little bit easier because they have smaller rosters and organizations. And they haven't had a single player, not a single coach test positive. The MLS came back, and over 850 people tested over the course of their entire time coming back. Not a single person tested positive. So I think the NFL is getting it right, and it's all about the players buying into it, the coaches buying into it, and enforcing that and making sure these guys aren't doing anything dumb outside of the facilities.
Yeah, and that's really the big time key here. You have to look at that situation, and even Coach Arians talked about this today. I got to get to these comments because they're very telling. We put you back in the lobby here. We will go out to Bruce Arians about him talking about not only the penalties, but possibly putting together a bubble or what they're kind of trying to do with this team going into the season here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here we go.
We have a hotel sequestered now, and it's, we can't force the guys to go, so it's up to them. We have some veterans over there who do live in town because they know how safe it'll be, and we'll obviously stay there the night before home games like we always have. But we've got a commitment. We talked about having a commitment to each other, and it only takes one to sink the ship. And right now it's I think it'll be easier to handle, although we'll still have 69 guys this year. Once we keep going after the cuts. So it's going to be a little bit harder, but it's going to take a hell of a commitment from everybody. There are penalties in place for right now. I kind of trust our guys right now. But when we travel, there'll be no going to restaurants or going out. We'll be sequestered in the hotel that we're at, play the game and get home. So it's so much different than baseball, where you're sitting in a city for 4 days, going to restaurants, going out, than it is for football. We're very seldom are we in the town for more than 28 hours.
All right, welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, Pro Football Edition here on the Landry Football Network. Let's get out to Kyle Keck here. He says, I trust my guys, but it's not going to be like baseball. It takes one guy to ruin it for everybody. I mean, that's what you got to love about Coach Arians. When you interview him, you get some great sound bites, but he's straight up about it. Again, he's very straight up about how he feels about it, how serious he is about the situation. We'll have Kevin O'Donnell on tomorrow night. He asked him the question before that about how comfortable he was, because the comments the month before, he was saying everybody's going to get sick. And now he's kind of corrected him, but he's very serious about the protocols. They're not going to put any penalties into effect, but you kind of feel like he's gone to the players and said, look, it only takes one of these guys to basically ruin Super Bowl aspirations for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. I guarantee you all it took for him to make those comments and go back on what he was saying was finally seeing Tom Brady on his practice field.
Good point.
I mean, you see him out there slinging it and the way that he leads. And we heard McCoy come out today and say that, Brady is like a general out there leading his soldiers. So I guarantee that's all it really took for it to be a slap in the face. It's like, hey, we've got something really special going on here. We need to make sure everything is all cleared and ready to go. But, with some of the stuff that he said of, we're not going out to eat. We're good. We got our hotels. We are, it's all business. I think that football wise this year, if we have the season, we get through this full season, football wise in the NFL, I think will end up being schematically, systematically, exactly, football will be the best football season that we'll see, because none of these players, none of these coaches are going to have any distractions of being able to go out and do stuff. It's going to be like college football. It's going to be, they're going to have to somewhat babysit some of these guys and to make sure they're not doing anything stupid. They're going to keep the guys in the facilities for as long as they possibly can. And that's going over film. That's getting game plans right. That's from A through Z. And so I truly believe that if we get through this football season, we're going to see some of the best football that we could possibly see.
And do you feel like the Bucs will have that advantage because they went out on those secret workouts? We heard from Cameron Brate, I believe it was last week, and somebody was trying to nail it down, but he basically said in so many words it was 10 or more workouts. Do you feel like the Bucs and other teams that did these secret workouts will have an advantage over the teams that didn't?
Well, I don't know that, that will play a role into these guys having any sort of advantage. I do think that every team in the NFL that does have a new quarterback coming in will have an advantage going into the season because, teams change so much going into every season when they have a new quarterback coming in because of those quarterbacks' tendencies, what they're good at, what they're not good at. And so I think, going into this first week against the Saints, if we focus specifically on the Buccaneers, going into this first week against the Saints, I mean, that's the best draw they could potentially have. That's easily, one of their toughest opponents of the year, and they play them twice within their division. And the Saints are not going to have any idea of what's coming at them solely because Tom Brady comes in. Yeah, the system of Bruce Arians will somewhat be the same, but it's not going to be anything like what from when Jameis was there, to where the Saints will be able to key in on some of Jameis's weaknesses. And so I think that, teams with new quarterbacks going into this new season will have an advantage over others.
Speaking of the Saints, Mr. Cam Jordan, I think the Saints all through the offseason have been talking trash, and I get it. They're the division winners. Janoris Jenkins saying about a month ago that, the Bucs haven't done anything. It's just on paper. Of course, this would be the cornerback that got roasted and toasted versus Mike Evans last year for 3 touchdowns, 180 yards. So I don't know why he's talking in the first place. He wasn't a Saint last year. He was a Giant. But Cam Newton saying, in so many words, we have to step up our game. We've got to elevate. They got the second greatest quarterback of all time right behind Drew Brees. Now, keep in mind, Kyle, he's saying this stuff on Tom Brady's birthday. That's not smart. Now we've got a head-to-head 2 times a year. We've got our work cut out for us. They have addition with Rob Gronkowski, LaShawn McCoy, of course. We'll get back to McCoy in a moment. And you already had 2,000-yard wide receivers in a Godwin and a Mike Evans. This is a team fighting for second place. Why are you saying this kind of stuff when you clearly know that Tom Brady is going to take this? He's going to put it on the bulletin board for the offense and for this defense, and they are going to be motivated on September 13th when they face the Saints. If they weren't already motivated, this just adds fuel to the fire.
I mean, don't poke the bear, right? I mean, if there's any person in the league, if there's any person in professional sports outside of Michael Jordan, who would you, why would you want to jab at this guy? That Tom Brady, his leadership of what he's trying to go for, leaving the Patriots and Belichick, the whole thing has been, well, Brady's nothing without Belichick, or Belichick's nothing without Brady. He's already has that motivation going for him. But at the same time, in a way, it's hard not to level with Cam Jordan, because what have the Bucs been playing for the last couple of years? We bring in Brady, we bring in Gronk, we have a really great draft class. Our defense was really good for the back half of last year. We're automatically eliminating 30 interceptions, going into next year. But in a way, he does have kind of a little bit of a point. I don't agree with it. I do think that that's the worst thing that he could have done to jab at Tom Brady and just give him fuel to the fire going into week 1. But at the same time, he does somewhat, in a way, have a point.
Yeah, and to me, I get it. He definitely has a point, because the Bucs have been trying to compete. They were 7-7. They lost the last couple of games versus the Texans and the Falcons. And it doesn't look good at 7-9, and being in third place, and they got blown out in both of those games versus the Saints. So yeah, it doesn't, but still, it's Tom Brady with 6 Super Bowls with all those offensive weapons. And now you've put a target on your back, because you know that they're not going to allow you to go one-on-one with one of these offensive linemen. In fact, it's going to be Brady's good friend Gronk most likely chipping on you. I tell you what, let's go out to the webheads here, talk to these guys. Open phone line if you want to get in on this conversation. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Bucs Report writer, Mr. Kyle Keck, son of the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al. I got to keep on pumping up your dad. Your dad is awesome. I love doing.
I'm better looking than him, though. And he knows it. He makes his comments on the Al Keck show, but deep down he knows I'm better looking.
He knows it. Has he admitted that to you there, Kyle, or what?
He doesn't need to. I see it in the look in his eyes every Tuesday night.
All right, let's go on to the WebEds here. All right, says stunning is stunning. Pewter Blake, appreciate that. Dyslexic, and there you go. You get your Fire the Cannon for doing that. It's Yaromir Yager's dad's son. Let's go. Al's son, it is. Absolutely. Christopher Cole says, no, I meant the TV show PFT. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were taking a shot at the sports web. It's okay, Christopher. You're cool with me. Kick it with my family. I don't think I've ever heard Al use the word kick it before. Tim, Al saying Keck. Of course, we have the Keckers here on Bucs Report, which he's on Tuesday nights at 9:00 here live on Bucs Report. He looks like him. I figured he had to be related. Best virtual edits video, laugh out loud. I was just taking a jab at PFT. Tim says, I think COVID is a huge reason why someone like AB will not be signed to a team. It's because no one can trust him to obey the team rules. A player like him could use a huge COVID breakout among a team because he would be out partying. And New Orleans better pray they have lots of fans with lots of fan noise. If not, they have no chance to slow down the Bucs offense. Going back to the AB situation, which, by the way, speaking of noise on the ears, if you ever go, Kyle, and listen to his mumble rap, it's awful. But besides that, his attitude off the field is even worse. Get back to that in a moment. Let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Kyle Keck on the evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Hey, how's it going, Peter? It's Chris.
What's up, Chris? What's on your mind tonight, buddy?
Hey, not much. I just wanted to talk about the Cam Jordan thing and
go for it.
Shady McCoy. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what is Cam Jordan supposed to say? I mean, he's going to pump up his team regardless of how he feels.
Fighting for second place? I mean, you just say the right thing. They're going to be competitor. Don't say fighting for second place. And then the second greatest quarterback of all time. Why even say greatest of all time? Why not just say great Tom Brady?
Yeah,
Drew Brees is better than Tom Brady. He really believes that. I get it. He's pumping up his quarterback. But honestly, you think anybody believes that?
That part I don't believe. That part it was just, yeah. But as far as, I mean, when's the last time the Bucs won the division or came close to winning the division? And that's the part I see. I mean, what is it, 2006 or 2005 is the last time?
2005, yeah. 2005. I think they earned a wild card in 2007.
So that part's believable. But, yeah, I mean, no one, as of right now, is better than Tom Brady and probably will never be better than Tom Brady. Even I don't even think Patrick Mahomes will get to that level. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw it as just, I don't know, team speak, pumping up his team, getting ready, getting the, it's kind of like the weigh-in before the match,
Well, you're a Twitter guy. You're always on Twitter, Chris. I was reading Bucs Twitter the other night because I had nothing else to do, and sometimes that place can be very toxic. But a lot of Bucs fans were saying, I'm scared of the expectations that have been thrown out there from national outlets. Let me ask you, Kyle, and then I'll ask Chris, or ask Chris and then Kyle. Chris, are you scared of those expectations being a Bucs fan?
No, I mean, I think they're realistic. I think the Bucs could have won 11 games last year.
Okay.
A lot of mixture of things, turnovers, missed field goals, and I mean, just games you should, like the Giants and Seattle game. Those are the games Bucs should have won. That last game in Atlanta, Bucs should have won that game.
Yep.
So that's 3 games, and you're talking about a 10-win team. So this year, definitely 10 wins is attainable. They extended the playoffs. What is it? 2 more teams in each conference.
Yeah, I think it's one more team in each conference, Kyle. So it's 17.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 17. So that makes it that much easier. Even without it, I think the Bucs still would be a 10-win team and should be
okay.
Lock to go to the playoffs. But I mean, we've all seen it though. A lot of people, back in 2017, I want to use an example of this. Bucs had a lot of high expectations. They were on
Mhm.
Hard Knocks. They were the darlings of the media, and then they just didn't live up to it. But it was a younger team. Now you have some wily veterans and Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski. They've been there. They know how to get there. So I'm not really worried about the expectations to get into the playoffs. It's really how far is getting this team go.
Yeah, no, and that's the big time key. And I've said Super Bowl or bust. Our guy Joshua Cole Allen on the Audible had the punter on Bradley Pinion, and he even said in so many words, Super Bowl or bust. So I believe that's an attitude out there for this team. And with all the moves they've made in the offseason, you would expect nothing less. In fact, I believe that there would be some fans out there, and even this organization would be disappointed if they don't win a Super Bowl or at least get to a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. I think that's fair. So,
and to say that, like, if you follow me on Twitter, I mean, I don't hide it. From the very beginning, I was skeptical of the Tom Brady signing.
why? Why so skeptical, Chris?
I mean, it just looked the last 9 games last year kind of. They started out 8-0, and I think they went like 4-5 the last 9 games.
Okay.
Couldn't beat Miami, the team they should have beat to get that. They would have had a first round bye, I think. Could have changed the whole complexion of the playoffs.
Right.
But there's factors, you can do all the training you want, eat right. But with his age, fatigue sets in, and that's the only thing that worries me is I think the Bucs can get to the playoffs with Tom Brady.
Right.
But will they be able to get to a Super Bowl? Because last year he just looked fatigued. Now, if he starts taking hits that Jameis was taking last year, and it's going to wear him out pretty quick. But I don't think he will. We'll see how the offense changes. But, he's a 43-year-old quarterback. Yes, I know he's the greatest of all time, but it's still a skeptical move that I'm still skeptical about.
Okay. All right. What about LaShawn McCoy? Are you skeptical about that also?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I didn't really mind the signing. The Bucs needed a veteran running back, just like I think they need a veteran cornerback. You don't need a Logan Ryan, but you needed someone, I think, who can step in and play better than Ryan Smith and MJ Stewart in a pinch. But I don't mind LaShawn McCoy, and it probably spells the end of times for Dari Agumbawali, especially with drafting of Keyshawn Vaughn. But I could see, well, not the ending for Dari, but because I believe on the practice squad this year, you're allowed to put veteran players on there, and I could see Dari going on the practice squad as a veteran player.
Well, because he plays special teams also, so most likely he could make this team. And he was out there with those secret workouts, but you're definitely correct. I mean, they draft Calais in the 7th round. They would expect him to be a special teams player, can make some big plays, but of course he's on the COVID list, so you don't know if he's positive or he's been around somebody. You have a Keyshawn Vaughn who's a 3rd round pick. Right now it's Ronald Jones and everybody else, and that's exactly what Coach Arians said today. Everybody else is vying for those roles, but he's depending on a Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones is going to see the majority of the carries, and I'm glad to see that, but you're exactly right. It's going to be an interesting competition between Adare and everybody else on this team. And I feel like, Kyle, the way that he's going to make this team is if it's on special teams, right?
For Dari?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way. You look at the rest of the running back core that they have with Rojo, LaShawn McCoy, Vaughn, Calais, and even TJ Logan. TJ Logan's one of the fastest players in the league.
Him, yeah.
And Dari, he got a lot of tick last year, but I think that was only because Arians just late in games didn't trust Rojo with his pass blocking, and Rojo wasn't catching the ball the way that Dari would.
Right.
But I think overall the rest of the skill sets that Dari brings, I think it's just strictly goes back to special teams. I don't think that we'll see him in the backfield the way that we did last year,
unless there's some carryover with Vaughn and of course Calais and the other running back. That they tested positive. They don't come off the COVID list. You wonder what the effect of that is going to be. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, but even with special teams with Dari, I mean, I think it was that Houston game where he was returning kickoffs and he fumbled the ball twice.
Not good.
One of the games, as a special teams captain, he's one of the blockers off the edge, and he let someone come through in the punt. I don't remember which game, but the punt got blocked.
Right.
So I mean, as far as special teams value, I really don't even see that either.
So you think he's the odd man out at this point?
At the end of the day, I think the Bucs or Bruce Arians in general weren't happy with the way the run game was last year.
Okay.
They proved that by. I don't even think they offered Peyton Barber a contract after they hyped him up all off.
They didn't, and that's the reason why.
Gone.
Right, that's the reason. Yeah.
Keyshawn Vaughn in the 3rd round. They draft Raymond Clay in the 7th round, and I just, they bring in LaShawn McCoy. I just don't think they're happening. I think they know that they need to get more out of the run game to be successful, because as much as people say it's a pass league, you still have to have that balance. You still have to be efficient in the run game. Not necessarily a lot of carries, but when you run the ball, run it well. Don't get penalized, DeMar Dotson. Glad he's not here anymore. And I just don't think the Bucs were happy with the way the run game was. I mean, it was the 24th worst rushing offense last year.
Correct.
And when I went back and did the numbers, I mean, they were in 2018 under Dirk Cutter, they were ranked worse, but they were actually better in 2018 than they were in 2019. Not by a lot, but they were still in 2019. But 9 other teams were worse than
it's not good. I mean, stats wise, it hasn't been good the last 5 to 10 years, and I think that's the reason why offenses have struggled and why you see so many sacks. And you cannot afford to throw the ball 626 times like Jameis Winston did last year in this offense. Even though Brady did it in his offense, you wanted a balanced attack, and I think McCoy definitely is going to help and add to that running back stable.
Yeah, and then just LaShawn McCoy, he just brings so much more to as a pass catcher.
Right.
As does Rojo. I think Rojo did fine as a pass catcher, and I think he could have done a lot more. I pounded the table last year after like the first couple games. I'm like, why isn't Rojo the number 1 running back? And they didn't make the switch until it was, too late.
9th game of the season, and still, in those 2 games, Kyle and Chris, he averaged 25 carries in 2 games. So how much is that? I mean, what is that? 12 carries, 13 carries. That's not enough for a running back, especially as explosive as Jones can be. Good stuff, Chris. Thanks a lot for calling the Evolution. Definitely call back. All right, my friend.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Good stuff. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web live here on Bucs Report, your pro football edition on the Landry Football Network. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Kyle Keck, son, of course, of Al Keck, the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, and one of the great writers here at Bucs Report. We were talking about LaShawn McCoy when we were last left off. What are your thoughts on LaShawn McCoy? You like the move?
I love the move. I think that he's the exact type of guy that the Bucs needed to bring into that running back, the running back room, because and we prefaced it earlier. There was no veteran presence in that running back core. That was one of the few position groups on the team that didn't have a vet presence. TJ Logan was the one vet that they had, and TJ Logan hasn't really been in the league for that long, or really in a starting role for very long. I think McCoy is the exact kind of guy they need in order to get Rojo going. And again, I love what they can do with McCoy. He doesn't have to be, he's not a volume guy. He's not a guy that needs like Rojo. Rojo's a volume guy. He's a rhythm guy. You need to feed him more for him to really produce and get something going. McCoy's the type of guy that all he needs is a couple touches here and there. You throw him out wide, you can put him in the slot. He can catch. He's a good route runner. But on top of that, I just think that he is the one vet that this group needed in that backfield, especially in a year that's so crucial for Rojo.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. We got Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Kyle Keck.
Well, first of all, I had to get a chance to get on and talk with Kyle directly.
Okay.
Kyle, great show on Tuesday nights, but as you saw today, I'm a little disappointed now. I think between your dad, you, and Peter Blake, I'm no higher than don't go no higher than number 4. On the,
Don't sell yourself short, Ray. Come on.
Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, would you shut up? What do you want?
I wanted to talk about, we see Dare out there working with the Brady's bunch, out there working hard. And Kyle, you pointed out yourself that it wasn't always for the best of times or reasons, but Dari was the valve back out of the backfield last year when Rojo wasn't able to get it done. What do you think that if the offensive line is still so up in the air, and maybe it's not so up in the air, but the offensive line being our number one most concern to give Tom Brady that 1.1 seconds he needs to throw a ball with the quickest release in the NFL? What if a two-back backfield with Dari playing more of an up back and a Rojo in back, not only to keep them in as decoys on blocks and be able to assist if their blocking skills can become such that they're not a liability, but also then at the same time, when those release, you've got two release running backs out of the backfield that can catch screen passes in either flat and open up an entirely new wrinkle of that offensive system. What do you guys think about that?
I like where you're coming from, Ray. I 100% see what you are envisioning there. My only thing is, can Dari do that better than McCoy? You know, because if you put McCoy back there with Rojo, and again, we've seen and we know Rojo struggles with pass blocking. So if between those two, McCoy's probably the better blocker, but we need Rojo on the field for his playmaking abilities and the way that he can carry the ball. But you look at McCoy's stature. I mean, McCoy doesn't even really look like a running back. The guy's big. So if he's back there to be a blocker instead of Dari, and you know McCoy is a threat as a pass catcher as well, to where he could slip out, well, then defenses are going to need to key in on that on a two running back scheme there. So that's my only thing is if that's the case, if that's a scheme that the Bucs are willing to go after, does Dari really play that role better than McCoy, to where he'd be out there instead of McCoy?
Well, let me ask you this, Kyle, and I'll ask you this too, Peter, and then I'll hang up because I know you guys got people calling in and having a great time.
Yeah.
Having Shady there in the field and what he can do at any given moment, even as a role player, and the number of times a game that he'll be in on play or get a touch. Now, do you see because we go back and you look at the tape of Rojo back at USC coming out, and I always was very careful not to say he's classical, not to say he's going to come out and run the way from USC, but the way he brings it to the house with McCoy now opening things more underneath, and defense is playing that even more, and also the 17 wide receivers and the 17 tight ends and 5 wide receivers. I think now we get to see Rojo take it to the house at least 2 or 3 times this year of 80 yards or more. What do you guys think about that?
I definitely think it's a possibility, and that's the reason why I keep on saying a victim of volume. Turn down your phone. I don't want to hear myself, but that's where you got to go. You've got to get him more carries, and if you can get him more carries, he gets to that second or the third level, he could definitely make things happen, because he did that at USC. The problem with his first year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there was no coaching to show him the playbook. They weren't teaching him the playbook. So finally he gets the coaching that he needs in his second year. It's like night and day. It's almost like what my father always said, the lights turned on for him. And you could definitely see the opportunity from week 9 and after that he was definitely the Bucs running back. And I feel like the reason why they upgraded the situation in the 3rd and 7th round is because you give yourself the opportunity to have depth, and also you get players that can do multiple things in this offense, which can give you more options to where you're explosive, and the defense has to account for you.
Now, you guys, I remember going back. I remember Shady being the guy that was making it happen in the backfield, and then getting this, the release valve pass and taking it all over the field. And I don't ever want to say I remember him missing blocks. I remember him when blocks were obviously going past him, pushing a block past him because he knew they weren't going to turn around and come back on his quarterback. But
sure,
I never saw him miss a block. But what do you guys think about his straight up blocking skills and picking up that blitzing linebacker or assisting that offensive line back there?
For me, it's the big question. I mean, can he pass block? Because if he doesn't, Coach Arians is going to bench him. I mean, what are your thoughts on this, Kyle? Has he improved with his pass blocking?
I mean, I like you said, I think that's the question. But I think that he's at a point right now to where he's willing to do anything he needs to do in order to make an impact on this team, in order to win. And if that means that he needs to learn how to block better, then I guarantee you Bruce Arians is going to get him to do it. They didn't bring him in just to coach up the group. They brought him in because he can do things. And I think with Peyton Barber gone, and now they have their main guy in the backfield now is Rojo, from what Bruce Arians said today, is a guy that hasn't been able to show that he can pass block. I think that alone shows you how confident this coaching staff is in LaShawn McCoy's ability to pass block.
Kyle, I'll tell you this. What I see too, and you're right, I agree 100%. What I see is a 12th year veteran that's going to get up in the backfield and is going to basically be told by the GOAT where the blitz is coming from and where to pick up, how to play, and he's going to do it respectively, because Tom's not going to make him feel like a rookie, because Tom doesn't play that way. And I think that LaShawn knows the entire time, 10 or 15, 17 touches a game, more if Rojo has an injury or maybe is for some reason out for a quarter or two. LaShawn knows that Tom's going to show him what he needs to do, and LaShawn knows if he does what Tom asks him to do, Tom's going to get him fed. And that's a very exciting thing.
And I think the other exciting thing is McCoy's comments yesterday in his presser, where he's saying, well, I'm talking to running backs that have worked with Tom Brady before. He's already doing his due diligence because he knows that Brady is going to command that excellence. So if he doesn't put that out there on the field, he's not going to get fed those balls. Good stuff, Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy.
And I'll also say, too, I think that, going into the season, I think our opponents, I don't think that we'll get blitzed as much as we did in the past, because other teams were blitzing us because they knew, A, some of our running backs can't really block very well. B, our offensive line hasn't been great. And C, we had a quarterback that would freak out under pressure and make bad decisions. Cool. Now we have a quarterback that knows what to do under pressure. Our offensive line will, we hope to be bolstered compared to what it was last year. And, Brady is so used to getting blitzed in different packages to where if he sees one guy in the corner of his eye coming, he knows who's going to be open, or he'll just throw it away instead of throwing it to a linebacker.
Yeah, what you have
Kyle, let me ask you this. Tonight,
go ahead, Ray.
Tonight's all around the NFL tonight here on Landry Football Network.
Yeah.
You're right there in Chicago or just outside of Chicago. Mm-hmm. Answer the 62,000. $1,000 question for the.
Well, I think you mean Mitchell Trubisky, and that is definitely the $1 million question, especially with.
Sorry, I missed the question. I think I glitched out there. I didn't even hear what the question was.
I got you. He said the $1 million question. Yeah. Or I think he said 62,000, but I think it's a little bit more than 62,000. Mitchell Trubisky, is he the answer there, or is it a Nick Foles? To me, the Bears are a dark horse in that division, and this is why, Kyle, because if they get stability at quarterback with a Nick Foles who's proven to do it before, you already have that defense with the Khalil Mack. They're one of the best defenses in the NFL. In your opinion, is it Trubisky or is it Foles in 2020 for the Bears?
It's Foles. I don't even think that it's a question. The biggest downfall for the Bears, and again, Ray's right. I live just outside of Chicago. It's Bears country up here. I watch them almost every Sunday because I have to, not even because I enjoy it. But their biggest downfall is, Nagy is an offensive mastermind. He's almost like Joe Madden in the way that he can sometimes overthink some things and try to get cute with stuff. But the problem was he didn't have a quarterback that could throw it accurately past 15, 25 yards. So now you got Foles who can come in and make some of the throws that Trubisky wasn't able to, although Trubisky made a heck of a lot of plays with his own feet. But I think that their offensive line is improved. They have the running game with Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery. Allen Robinson has proven to be one of the top receivers in the league, and they're bringing in that Cole Kmet kid from Notre Dame at tight end. So I think Foles was the one thing that was missing there for that offense. But then again, he's got to prove it. Foles has had that great year with the Eagles there. And we didn't get to see much of what he could do in Jacksonville because he got hurt. But I think that of all the quarterbacks that were available in this free agency, you look at, even Andy Dalton and Cam Newton, they had their shots at all these guys, Jameis even, who could throw the ball downfield. They went after Nick Foles, who is not the sexy pick of all those guys. He's not the guy that a lot of people would pick out of that group. But Nagy was confident enough with him to where I think it's a no-brainer. It's Foles. I think Trubisky is done as a Bear. Now, he may have to come in because who knows if Foles gets hurt. He's shown to get hurt, with last year. We'll see how that knee holds up. But but I think it's Foles.
Go ahead, Ray.
This though, and I don't, because again, I preface this by saying someone who doesn't know enough about the Bears to not at all. Do the Bears have a Derrick Henry? Because Derrick Henry was the reason why Nick Foles' play action and his play action was spot on. Got him a $27 million year contract, and that's what my problem, because the Bears are trying to possibly sound like they're going to play Foles just the same way they did down in no, I'm saying is that who do you have on the Bears team? Because you already know they got a good defense, but who do you got on their team that's a Derrick Henry that can open up that pass action game? Do you have a big running back like that?
Well, let me just correct you really quick. It was Ryan Tannehill who got the contract extension from the Titans, who struggled with the Dolphins. You're exactly right, because of Derrick Henry in that pass play action. You look at Montgomery, who they drafted, Kyle, and also the little guy, Tariq Cohen. You need to get out into space. I'll tell you the reason why they went after Foles, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And because Nagy worked with Foles in Kansas City and was very familiar with him, I think that's why they made the move. But talk about that running game a little bit. Do you think that can take the pressure off of that quarterback situation, especially if Foles is at the controls?
I think it can. And I think a big part of that is going to be their offensive line. I've seen a lot of reports lately that have just raved about the Bears' offensive line. These guys are coming in absolutely shredded compared to what they looked like last year. And I think it's because they know that they were a big issue last year because Trubisky was running for his life. And but going to that run game, Montgomery, the Bears' backfield is a backfield that I envy as a Bucs fan, because you got Montgomery that runs. I swear he runs harder than most of the running backs in the league. The way he hits the hole, he can catch well as well. He's good in open space. And then you bring in Cohen, who he might be the smallest guy in the league, but the guy is so shifty. He's got great hands. He's great in the return game. He's a game changer. So I think, I mean, neither of the guys are a guy that you can, lean on for, 25 to 30 carries in a game, but you can give them enough of a balanced attack to where they can still impact a game, to where they'll push it down the field and they can still distribute to their receivers and their tight ends the way that Nagy wants to.
Nice. Now, and I'll finish up the call, Pete, because I've already taken up too much of your time. But
no, it's all good, Ray. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy on.
I'm going to pull a complete zigzag, because you're right. I was totally off on my quarterback, and I was thinking Nick Foles.
It's all right.
I was thinking him down here in Jacksonville, and I was thinking him with Leonard Fournette. Let me ask you this. Forget the Bears then. Challenging both you and Kyle and you, Peter. Did the Jaguars, Minshew won Pepsi Rookie of the Week 5 out of 7 times in a row. The mustache came out and bald. Did the Jacksonville Jaguars make that right decision in letting that Nick Foles go, or do you think that there's going to have a sophomore slump, or is Minshew going to be the guy for years to come in Jacksonville?
I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now. I get it. He played well, but you don't have much around him. So even if he plays well, can he elevate that team enough? I believe they're one of the worst teams in the NFL coming into 2020. And if they're smart, they will tank for a Trevor Lawrence, because he's right in their own backyard down the street. It would make lots of sense. I'm not sure if Minshew is the answer. What do you feel like, Kyle?
I think the Jags made the best move. I think that what they did was the smartest thing they could have possibly done on moving on from Foles after seeing what Minshew could do. And I say it for 2 reasons. Number one, I think Minshew is a very good quarterback. I think that, he was the offensive, like Ray mentioned, offensive player of the week or rookie of the week on the offensive side many times this year. He has proven to be a gunslinger at Washington State, again, in a pass-heavy offense with Mike Leach, but he made a lot of plays. Guys rally around him. He's a football guy, and he's a guy that people just love to be around. So I think he can make the plays that the Jags are looking for. But at the same time, I think that they saw, hey, we can either bring back Foles and be mediocre. We know what Foles can do. We saw what Minshew could do this year. That's pretty intriguing. Let's make him the guy. We know with the rest of our unit that we're probably not going to be a playoff team coming into this year. Let's see what Minshew does. If this is the test, if he's the guy, then he's our guy. If he's not, then odds are we're in line to get one of these top quarterbacks coming into this draft.
So can you then kill you, though, that Jacksonville's Achilles heel for the last, they went together 5 years ago and put one of probably the top 3 defensive teams in the AFC, and they had it all but for half a season,
Yep.
and then completely started dismantling it. And now they have a journeyman, like you said, gunslinger from Washington that came in here and can do this. It's just, if they ever going to get that Jacksonville defense together, because and I like what you're saying about Minshew and gunslinging on that side, but man, if they had half the defense they had before they started dropping Fowler and letting Jalen Ramsey go and all those guys, they would be at least a middle of the road contender in the AFC instead of doormats.
They're going to be worse because they're in a division that definitely is no advantage. I mean, you have the Indianapolis Colts with Phillip Rivers. You have the Houston Texans with Deshaun Watson. Even though I feel like you have the Titans. I don't feel like they're getting any better. And then on top of it, you talked about all the defensive starters. You haven't even spoken about Yannick Ngakoue. They're going to lose him because he doesn't want to play there. They lose Calais Campbell a couple years ago. It is a complete departure. It's a complete mess. It's absolutely disastrous with the
There's a culture issue. You can tell there's a culture issue going on down there because it was all about, Jalen wanted his money. And then you got Calais Campbell down there, who's, arguably maybe one of the most respectable guys in the entire league, especially on the defensive side with what he's done and the high character that he's been throughout the league and just being a guy who walks the walk and talks his talk. And he wanted out. So it's clear that it's totally a culture thing down there. I don't know how much longer. His name's escaping me, their head coach. I don't know how much longer he has left there.
Doug Marrone, he's a dead man.
Marrone, yes.
I mean, you just call him DOA because he's definitely on the hot seat. And if he doesn't have a good year, and you look at Tom Coughlin being a part of that franchise, he's
Wasn't
a part.
Tom Coughlin the problem? Wasn't he the reason why the defense started mass exodus?
Yeah, they weren't. I mean, the clash of Marrone and Coughlin of them being so. They're the Chicago Bulls when Derrick Rose was there. It's Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is a guy to where he has his own specific guys that he needs in his team, and it has to be those specific guys because of the way that he runs things. If it's his way or the highway, and he's hard nailed. And a lot of guys, these younger guys now, it doesn't always work for them.
Yeah, they want to go ball. They want to go ball someplace fun. They want to go ball and they want to win rings. They don't. And I always thought it was just Khan making a ploy for making the team suck so bad enough that eventually they'll make him move the team to England so he can double dip in the big stadium he built over there. But I don't think the NFL ever does that.
I definitely think they would be. I absolutely think they would be in favor of that Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy because they want to expand. They've played games over there, and somebody told me a long time ago. And I said, why would you play games over in London? They said, well, because the games sell out in 8 to 10 minutes. I mean, that's why you play. Yeah. They've already explored the possibility of, but look, they've already explored the possibility because they have more games now over in London. And then on top of it, they're trying to get a Super Bowl over there. So how do you get a Super Bowl over there? You put a team over there, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are definitely, I think, the target from Londinium.
I think it makes sense because, and no offense to the city of Jacksonville, but, let's be honest, they don't need a professional sports team there. What is there to do there? No hard feelings, but let's
do there in Duval County. If you're in Duval.
What big-time free agent is thinking, you look at the rest of the other teams in Florida with Tampa Bay and Miami, what big-time free agent is thinking, I want to go to Jacksonville.
Yeah. It's not really there.
And you ask your dad this because, and maybe you know this because you're not a spring chicken, although you're like a kid. There was a time, really just 5.5 minutes and a cup of coffee, rumblings when the Glazers first bought into whatever it is. What do they own again, Peter? There's hockey team.
Manchester United.
Yeah, Man U.
Shame on you.
Manchester United and the Bucs sucked. Bucs weren't selling out games here. Bucs weren't getting 15,000 people a game average because the organization was ran by a bunch of ass monkeys. But I'll get to that another time. Idiots, I should say. But there was a time when the Bucs were the team that we were thinking, and Buccaneer fans were worried about that. And then we got the stadium built and things got better and everything. But you asked your dad about that. But yeah, now it looks like it's almost doing it with the same thing with those Jacksonville Jaguars, because why else do you dismantle that defense? And now you got a mustache, a wing, and a prayer, and you're just trying to, look good from week to week. But anyway, taking up way too much of your time, guys. I appreciate you letting me call and talk a little football with you.
All right, Tampa Bay Ray.
Oh, Ray.
Thanks a lot for calling the Evolution. All right.
Take care, brothers.
All right, call back. I love him, man. He's great. And
One of a kind.
Yeah, he is. Catch his show, Cup of Ray, here on Sundays at 10 a.m. So, got to get you out of here. We got Alex Fleming coming up here. But, Kyle, your final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts. I'm just excited about this year. I'm ready for football. I see we've got a comment here that says Bucs have a 1-year window. I don't agree with that. I think my final thoughts I think that, however long we have Brady under a contract, that's what our window is.
Yeah, I definitely want to read this comment here from Ali Keck. I believe this is the significant other. You love it, Kyle. Best virtual edits video. Why is Ray whispering? Because Ray always sounds like he's like the pilot of a plane, hopefully not taking that plane down. Sometimes you just have to work with Ray. That's how he is. Best virtual edits video. Obviously, I knew that was a joke that went over your head. And Bucs have a 1-year window like you were talking about. I think it's 2 years. It's Super Bowl or bust the next 2 years, especially this year with the Super Bowl being in their backyard. Thanks a lot, Kyle Keck, for coming on the episode of Sports Talk.
One quick funny story that you brought up, the comment from my wife, Allie Keck. She's a trooper dealing with me as a Bucs fan that's been in a bad mood for the last 10 years. And 2 years ago we played in Chicago. It was Jameis's first game back from his suspension. We went to the game. I had a buddy of mine and his wife come up from Tampa. Allie she's a grown up, a Bears fan, and I convinced her to wear a Buccaneers shirt for that game for me. She wears the Buccaneers shirt. We're there at Soldier Field. We're getting absolutely destroyed by fans in our Buccaneers gear. And that's the game where Trubisky throws for 4 touchdowns and we throw all the pick sixes, and all it took for her, it took 1 Bears touchdown for her to zip up her jacket and not show the Bucs shirt anymore. And she started rooting for the Bears. So you gotta commend her for trying. But we'll see what happens this year against the Bears.
All I can say is 2 things. First, you have to continue to corrupt your wife and whoever, because like I told your father last night, my father sat me down and said, look, you're grounded if you're not a Bucs fan, if you're not a Seminole fan, if you don't like the Rays, if you don't support your Tampa teams. Get out of my house. I don't care if you have a job or not. This is when I was 8 years old. He told me this. And then on top of it, coming from a single man here, happy wife, happy life. So
right.
all I can say, you're stuck in a situation there with Allie, who wants to be a Bears fan, but you're a Bucs fan. So you got to keep on working here like the Bucs do with their running game in this offense this year. Thanks a lot for your time on the Evolution.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peter.
All right, definitely don't be a stranger. Good stuff. I mean, when you're taking relationship advice on a Wednesday night at 11 o'clock from me, then you got some problems. So help me out with the phone call. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Allie laughing about that. Also, I put my jacket on so fast that she did. Buck a bear. So at least they can respect each other. But Kyle's going to work that situation out. I kind of feel like he's going to win. He's going to make her a Bucs fan. We'll see here. We'll keep you abreast of that situation here on the Sports Web, because I know you care. It's your Pro Football Edition on the Landry Football Network. Join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and the Chris Landry Twitch channel here. I got Alex Fleming coming up, but I got to go out to this phone line. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's on your mind?
This is Eric. You know who this is, Eric.
Eric, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Man, what you thought, man, Shady McCoy's starting. Think he'd be a starting running back this year because we signed him?
I don't think he's a starting running back. I don't think you want Shady McCoy to be a starting running back, and this is why, Eric, because basically he's seen his best years. He's still been productive. He still had some of those plays where you get him out in space, but you've got a guy like a Rojo, who even Coach Arians talked about today, saying that he can carry the load. 724 yards of rushing, combined over 1,000 all-purpose yards. He can catch the ball. This coaching staff has a lot of confidence in him. He's put on 20 pounds, Eric, 20 pounds since the combine, so he's now 220. He's ready to go, and it certainly seems like from Coach Arians' presser today that he's not only convinced them, but also the hard work is starting to pay off. So in the grand scheme of things, you don't want McCoy to be your starter. What you want him to be is a complimentary back, so when Rojo gets tired or Keyshawn Vaughn gets tired, McCoy can come in and give them some reps. And then on top of it, because he has still that explosive nature about him, when he catches the ball or he gets those reps, he can make something big happen. I'm sorry, go ahead. I can't hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. How about if he wins the starting job in camp?
I don't think he's going to win the starting job in camp. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't even think it's a competition. And just listening to McCoy yesterday, he was asked about it. He said he's going to compete, but also he's going to try to help out this running back room as much as possible. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Do you think O.J. Howard can compete with Gronk for the starting job at tight end market?
No, I think he'll get the. I think here's the thing for me with O.J. Howard. He'll get the opportunity. He'll get every opportunity, and because the pressure is not on him to be the number one tight end, because of all the focus on Gronkowski, he may have a surprising year. It's Howard's do or die year. Okay. He signed the 5th-year option. He has to be productive. He was disappointing last year. I almost feel like when you add a Gronkowski to that tight end room, his leadership qualities, he's going to be able to teach these tight ends what they need to do, how they need to be professional, how to go about it. And again, you can't put a price on veteran presence like a Rob Gronkowski and a LaShawn McCoy. You just can't put a price on it. It's going to help this young team get better and better throughout the year.
How about this? Here's another question. Who would be the third receiver? Would it be Tyler Johnson? Would it be Scotty Miller?
Well, we'll definitely talk about that. Tyler Johnson looks like he suffered a minor injury, according to Coach Arians in his presser today. So it's looking like it's going to be Scotty Miller. He mentioned Justin Watson, and also mentioned a kid by the name of John Franklin. I believe it's the second.
Cornerback. He played cornerback last year.
Well, yes, he did, but he has to make this team as a wide receiver, and I would not be surprised if he did because he has that explosiveness to him, and then on top of it, he could play some quarterback. So is there an opportunity for him to make this team? Absolutely. And now with Tyler Johnson, with the go ahead. Huh?
You just said QB?
What do you say?
You just said QB as a quarterback?
He's a quarterback too. He definitely be a quarterback for this team. Coach Arians has talked about it. So yeah. He's multidimensional.
Look at this. Do you think that the running back who drafted in the 7th round, do you think he'd be something to watch? To be like another Percy Harvin? Running back who drafted in the 7th round, you think
they did that last year with Franklin. It's a good question. They did some wildcat with him when he was able to do that. Coach Arians talked about that, how he liked to use that opportunity to use him in that situation. So do I feel like that could be a part of their offense a little bit? Maybe they explored at the goal line or something like that. But when you have Tom Brady at quarterback, you really don't have to worry about, running wildcat. But again, he mentioned him. He's mentioned him a lot the last couple of weeks. Is he going to make the team as a wide receiver, as a quarterback? It's a good problem to have. Anything else, Eric?
But here's the thing. How about our secondary? It's a little iffy still.
You feel like that's iffy, huh?
I'm worried about the secondary this year.
I like the secondary, and I'll tell you why I like the secondary, because they were able to get those reps in the 9th game. That defense turned around, number 1, number 2 in the league. The young names they have, Carlton Davis shut down some top prime wide receivers. You have a Jamel Dean, who's one of the PFF top corners in the league, who's still young. And then you have Sean Murphy Bunting, who looked like he's bulked up. And I don't know if you've seen Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield. So for me, as many people say they're no names and they're young guys with lots of talent. Where's your defense come from, Eric? It comes from your pass rush. It's all predicated on that pass rush. If you can get that consistent pass rush, I think that takes the pressure off of your back end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our front seven will be a top 5 defense this year.
Yeah, they definitely look like it. I mean, I think the linebacking core with the Shaq Barrett, a JPP, Devin White, and a Levante David, you have to be excited to be a Bucs fan this year. And this defense may be top 5, along with this offense being top 5.
Did you get your money back for Buck tickets this year? Did you get your refund yet?
I did not turn in any money. I'm not a Bucs season ticket holder. I'm here working on Bucs Report, trying to answer questions like yourself for Bucs fans. I'm trying to entertain you in this time of craziness. So I'm here for you, buddy. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here 5 days a week.
Okay, I got one more question, please.
Sure, go for it.
Do you think the Bucs, maybe week 9 or week 10, would be any miracle the Bucs will sign like Antonio Brown?
No. Why would you want an Antonio Brown? You don't want an Antonio Brown, and this is why, Eric, and we'll end off on this. Great call. The reason why you don't want to sign an Antonio Brown, you have no faith in him. You have no confidence. And even though he's talented, what happens if he goes out to the club with the boys at night and he gets COVID? It only takes one player to ruin it. I don't have any confidence in Mr. Big Chest Antonio Brown to go into that locker room and not give something or not do the right thing. I just don't. He's a talented receiver. Let somebody else have that problem. I don't see it.
If Tom Brady wants to get, if Bruce Irvin doesn't want to give him a chance, if Tom Brady wants to give him a chance, who would you believe, Tom Brady or Bruce Irvin?
Well, I think Bruce Arians knows about him and all this stuff talked about Tom Brady wanting him. I'm not sure about that. I think that's more agent driven than Tom Brady. Eric, thanks a lot for calling the Sports Web. All right, boss?
Okay, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Okay.
Appreciate you, buddy. Good stuff. Open phone line. Let me get out to Alex Fleming here. And look, I love to answer the questions here from the web heads. Alex Fleming, lots of questions there. But for me, this defense, there is no question about it. I definitely think they're going to have a lot of expectations, especially returning everybody in the fold with the Ndamukong Suh and, of course, the JPP. Welcome to the Evolution Pro Football Edition. How you doing tonight, boss?
Man, I almost fell asleep with that last call. That was painful.
No. That's one of our web heads here, Eric. He wanted to ask a lot of questions. I like where he's going. He's just trying to get the 411, if you will, about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020. Let's not criticize our fans here. It's 11 o'clock. We like those phone calls. And I tell you right now, I don't want to interrupt you, but let's go out to the phone line. One of your favorite callers, Rick from Atlanta. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Mr. Alex Fleming, the flamethrower himself.
Alex Fleming, Peter Blake. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Peter, you had just brought up about John Franklin III.
Yes, I believe it's the third, right? It's not the second, it's the third. Yes,
the third.
Third, yes.
This guy is. He's really a fascinating story when you look back.
Mm-hmm.
If it's possible to be too good of an athlete to make he doesn't fit any position.
Mm-hmm.
He's successful everywhere he goes. I really want to see them give him a chance.
Well, I think they're going to give him a chance, and I think now with Tyler Johnson and his minor injury, which was talked about today from Bruce, that he's going to get every opportunity. He's going to have to make it either on special teams as a wide receiver, but Alex, he's a tremendous athlete. Not only can he play wide receiver, but he can play some quarterback. Are you thinking that possibly he could unseat one of these quarterbacks? Not a Tom Brady, but maybe, I don't know, a Ryan Griffin or even a Blaine Gabbert?
Please don't mention Blaine Gabbert again. I just threw out my trash. I don't need to collect any more. And as far as Ryan Griffin is concerned, he's been a career backup. John Franklin can play wide receiver. He can play tailback. He also can play quarterback. He can also collect the ball on special teams. He's valuable right now because he's an X factor. He's a Taysom Hill with skill, if you will. And if Brady were to go down and someone were foolish enough to put in Blaine Gabbert, After he throws a couple of interceptions or complains that he broke a nail, you could put in Franklin and at least salvage the game. Franklin's a hell of an athlete, and I think there's a roster spot on him.
Rick, go for it.
Right. Yeah, he even he spent a year on I think it was the Bears practice squad
Mm-hmm.
on defense. He was I think a cornerback, if I remember correctly.
Yep, you're exactly right. He was a cornerback.
It's amazing to me that this guy, everywhere he's gone, he played at Auburn, he played at East Mississippi Community College. he the Fighting whatever. He played at I forgot wherever else. But the thing is, he's so talented that people. It was down at FAU with Lane Kiffin.
Sure.
And it's almost like they don't know what to do with him because he's quote unquote too athletic to play quarterback, which drives me nuts. Because we could be sitting on. I'm gonna let Alex go ahead and say who I'm thinking.
Who was he thinking of?
Alex?
No comment.
Okay.
No comment.
It's come on, man. You got the nickname for him. You're the one who's always saying his name.
Oh, El Freaky?
Come on, man.
I'm innocent on this one.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying Lamar Jackson, El Freaky,
I'm
which
waiting for the El Freaky.
Right. That's
Come
what
on,
he.
Alex.
Alex is sleeping tonight. I guess Alex fell asleep
Alex,
on the
come
last
on,
call.
man.
Come on, Alex, wake up! It's Wednesday night. Now, come on.
All right, let's do this.
Jeez, you guys are something else. We need to get your own show here. Rick, so yeah, I mean, that's where it's going right now. You look at John Franklin. It's disappointing to see Johnson go down with a minor injury, and you wonder how long he's going to be out for. But it's going to give guys like a Scotty Miller. Scotty does know, hopefully, their draft pick from last year, an opportunity to win that wide receiver 3, a Justin Watson, who's been talked about, and other guys, and possibly a John Franklin. I don't know, but John Franklin's going to win it. But
everybody was so down on Scotty Miller, and I don't even think we've seen what Scotty Miller can do yet.
You don't, but there were times last year, Rick, where, look, he has the speed, but he doesn't necessarily know where he's at. He's kind of like he's lost in the sauce. Old Marine Corps statement there. He's lost in the sauce.
Rookie.
Right, but you got to have better field awareness, and I feel like when he was able to overcome the injuries, he definitely made some big plays, and the reason why the Bucs drafted him was to basically, stretch that field, and he did some of that, but he got
Rojo in year 1.
Yep, I remember all too well.
Rojo year 1 was garbage, straight garbage.
Well, the offensive line was garbage, and the coaching around him was garbage. But I definitely think Scotty Miller has, everybody giving up on these guys. They're still young, so it's a good problem for the Bucs to have. Did they draft a Tyler Johnson in the 5th round? Absolutely, but they still have a Scotty Miller who they drafted in the 6th round last year. So they've got good problems here. They just have to see these wide receivers develop. You're not going to give up on them, but Miller's going to get the opportunity because of a Johnson being hurt.
I actually really hate to see John Franklin not get a shot at quarterback. I mean, I really wish somebody,
it's possible,
if it's not the Buccaneers, I wish somebody would give him a shot at quarterback and let him do his thing. It's almost Tim Tebow-ish in the sense that it's okay. This guy wins and does well everywhere he goes, but no.
Rick, pause. You just said quarterback and Tim Tebow in the same sentence. I had to stop you.
Listen, man, national championship playing what position? Came in the NFL, did what in the NFL? He turned over.
If I had that offensive line and the offensive skill players around me at Florida at that time, I could have won a national championship.
Well,
Percy Harvin, Aaron Hernandez, the Pouncey twin brothers. I mean, bro, could have ran behind that offensive line.
Let's be fair now. When Tebow was with the Denver Broncos, he definitely had his fair share of criticism. But remember, he did throw for over 300 yards with the playoff win versus the Steelers. And I get it, he had the weapons around him, but I almost feel like if there would have been a coach out there or somebody like a John Elway, say, because Tebow was with the Denver Broncos, you would think he would want to develop a guy, but he decided to go the veteran route. He wanted to win a Super Bowl with the Peyton Manning, and that was the right thing to do. But you almost feel like you kind of missed out.
Do you think that was an upgrade, moving away from Tebow to Peyton Manning? Do you think that was an upgrade?
Of course it was an upgrade, but I almost feel like if somebody would have given him the opportunity and maybe coached him up a little bit better, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I don't know. I think the reason why...
Listen, I don't think he's going to be, he's not going to be throwing for, 300 yards a game like he did in that playoff game. I get it.
Right.
I get it. But the bottom line is the guy found a way to win. And for you to sit there and say, oh, yeah, his national championship and great year that he had with Florida doesn't count because he had good receivers. That's Alex, you're smarter than that, man. You still have to complete the passes.
Right.
You still have to do what you have to do. You can't say, okay, he had good receivers, therefore he sucks as a quarterback.
I can name you plenty of college quarterbacks that were good in college and were straight hot garbage in the NFL. Ryan Leaf. Let's see here. What's that guy's name? Josh Rosen. Where is he? I think he's in Miami right now. I think he's in Miami. Baker Mayfield. I mean, Eric Kraft. We could go on for days. College and pros is a completely different speed. In college, people didn't want to give Lamar Jackson respect because all he did was win the Heisman and improve his senior year. Now all he's done in his second year was be MVP, have 3,127 yards passing with 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and was the 6th leading rusher as a quarterback as far as running backs is concerned. Not bad for a running back with 1,209 yards. Has more touchdowns and more yards than Patrick Mahomes in the years they've been starting. But that doesn't mean anything because he hasn't won a playoff game. Until you win a playoff game, you haven't really proven anything in the NFL.
Alex,
what do I mean?
Alex, to be fair to your point, everything that you talked about with Lamar Jackson, that Scout said about Tim Tebow, and you almost feel like Tebow came a little bit too early because now the whole NFL, the whole picture of this league has changed. More teams are trying to build around those quarterbacks like a Kyler Murray and a Baker Mayfield and even
we spoke about this.
Right. And I feel like if Tebow would have gotten the opportunity to have an offense built around him, but really, what is the biggest elephant in the room, gentlemen? The elephant in the room is the fact of Tim Tebow, if he's your backup quarterback or on that team, he's a fan favorite, he's a distraction. He's just like any other distraction. The NFL doesn't want it. NFL team doesn't want it. So that's why most likely he's never going to get the opportunity to play.
I didn't even mean to get on Tebow. That
right.
wasn't even
well, that's fine.
The point behind the call. I mean, though I will say Denver was struggling until he came in and he managed to turn that ship around and then win a playoff game. So just it's easy to just discount it just because you want to.
Sure.
Just because he's not your guy.
Rick, that was some painful football. I remember that season. I remember trying to watch Denver. That was like a colonoscopy. All right, that's like passing a kidney stone. That football was just
He wins in college, wins a national championship. Well, that doesn't count because he had receivers. He comes in and he wins in the NFL. And what's your answer? It doesn't count.
Well, he didn't throw the ball consistently enough from the pocket, but right.
I think one game his QBR was 15. I mean, for real.
It wasn't good. There was moments where he was not good at throwing the ball consistently, but with a quarterback like that, I kind of think of Payson Hill, right? I mean, he doesn't necessarily have the reps, but what is he? He's an athlete. What you got to do is you got to build your system around him and move around. The NFL is more apt of doing that with quarterbacks now than they were back then. And of course, when you have a quarterback like a John Elway, who's traditional drop back passing quarterback, he wants the same guy. He wanted a Peyton Manning. He didn't want to work with a Tim Tebow, and he also didn't want Tebow on that team because of the distraction. Because
hey, Rick, let me break it down like this. Do you think the running backs and wide receivers were missing Tim Tebow? Thank you.
Yes, they weren't. Right.
Alex, that's not what makes a winner.
But Rick, it is kind of a point because if your wide receivers are upset because you're not getting the ball to them consistently enough, it is a problem. And you got to feel like those wide receivers sometimes are like, what the hell am I doing out here? But it wasn't all bad. It wasn't. Now, that's not fair because, once again, he did throw for over 300 yards. He beat the Steelers in that playoff game, which was a shock. I lost the bet on that game, by the way, because I remember
wide receivers at the University of Florida crying, saying they didn't like Tebow. No. So, I mean, this is all
college. College. Bro, Rick, we did a lot of things in college we can't get away with doing now. Real talk. All right? Let's not compare college to the pros. Different speed, different factor, and everybody is a professional among you. When you're playing in college, you're playing against scrubs, you're playing against thugs, you're playing against accountants, and you're playing with people who are trying to stay on the team for their scholarship. In the pros, you're playing against people who want to be there, who earned the right to be there.
Hold on, Rick.
You just went on and on talking about how great Lamar Jackson was in college. It only
and he's great in the pros. He's number 1 rated in NFL. And I gave you the reasons why. He's a dual threat who's only going to get better with weapons around him and at the top of the AFC with the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's not even in the same breath compare Lamar Jackson to Tim Tebow. Please, for the love of God, no.
See the comparison because what he's saying is Baltimore did everything they could, Alex, to build an offense around them. There's still people out there that will question if Lamar Jackson can throw the ball from the pocket, but that doesn't have to be your offense. It doesn't have to be like everybody's offense in the NFL. You can do what the Baltimore Ravens did and run him out. You just kind of wonder if he keeps on doing that run offense with the Ravens, is there going to be some type of injury? I get what Rick's saying. I get what a lot of people are saying. You have to build an offense around a quarterback, and I don't think when Tebow came into the league, there's a lot of teams that were willing to do it. Good stuff, Rick.
Bring the whole thing back home to John Franklin, which was my point.
Right.
John Franklin III is wouldn't it be awesome to see him on a team that would build the system around what he can
absolutely do? You have to find those strengths and weaknesses, and you have to get away from the weaknesses. You're exactly right about that. And I always go back to Dirk Cutter when he came in here as a coach for Jameis Winston. Why did you draft a Jameis Winston out of Florida State? Pass play action. Well, what do? Oh, we're gonna pass the ball heavy. Why? You ran the ball his first year. He had good statistics. The offense was top 10, and then you got away from your bread and butter. So you're exactly right. It would be nice for a team out there to give a quarterback the opportunity, but the problem is that team willing to build their system around them. If they are, it might be successful. It may not. It may blow up in your face. Donnie Manziel is the perfect example of that.
Hi, I'm Alex Fleming. I'm glad to be on the Sports Web. I'll wait my turn.
All right, Rick. What else, buddy?
There's an article that we put out today on Bucs Report about Marlon Briscoe.
Okay.
Marlon Briscoe, quarterback long time ago for Denver, first black quarterback in the NFL. They wouldn't let him stay quarterback because he was too athletic. They moved him to wide receiver. I'm just saying, simply enough, let the guy take somebody like him, and I feel like it's a wasted talent.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
You may be right. And you hopefully and you can figure that out with John Franklin III. Good stuff, sorry, Alex. Good stuff, Rick. Thanks a lot for calling the Evolution. All right.
You got it. Have a good night.
Good stuff, Alex. You got to understand, man. This is a fluid situation on the sports web. I've got web heads. I've got people calling me. You've got to sit there and I'm not saying sit there and be pretty. Well, I don't know what happened there. I guess he left. I guess his Wi-Fi kicked him off. I don't know what happened. All right, let's go back out to the web heads here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. We'll try to get him back. I thought his Wi-Fi went out. I don't think he hung up on me. Let's see if we can get him back. But let's go. Okay, there he is. Where did you go? Did your Wi-Fi kick you out? Look at you playing games tonight.
Yeah, you kicked me out, bro.
I did not kick you out, buddy. Your Wi-Fi kicked you out. I didn't kick you out. Are we good?
All right, fair enough. Now, before another person calls and interrupts a game, I actually have a little bit of rumors that might become true. Don't say this out loud because you might have a Patriot fan in your fan base. but I believe the McCourtney twins might opt out tomorrow. Just saying. I heard through a reliable source that since they're already taken for sunshine, that the McCourtney twins just might opt out tomorrow. So that means Joshua Cole Allen is going to owe me some wings. I don't want to hear another word about the Patriots being relevant anymore because they're just living off a name alone. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this division running away because the Jets have already said we're not going to compete, and I don't believe Miami is ready. But that's just a whisper.
Well, I think you're right, and I tell you right now, one of the McCourty brothers, I believe it was Devin, felt like the way the NFL was going about trying to move up that opt-out clause to an earlier date, he was upset about it, and they weren't sure about it. So if they opt out, then the Patriots would have 10 players. So we'll see what happens. Of course, that deadline is tomorrow. What else do you have on your mind tonight, Alex Fleming?
Basketball. I know it's a sports web and it's supposed to be around the NFL, but I'm just watching basketball and I'm like, wow. Yesterday was Twilight Zone. Today's just Beat Down City. It's really getting sad. And since we are in Orlando-Tampa in this bubble, I just think it's relevant to talk about some basketball. I mean, it's your show. You can do whatever the hell you want. I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
Well, I think, the thing about basketball right now is some of the impressive wins or the surprises that have happened with some of these games. Of course, Phoenix being 3-0, coming right out of the gate. That's been impressive. Milwaukee, I believe, losing the other night would be one thing. I mean, what do you have?
I'm impressed that you know some of this, Pete. Damn right. Good for you. Yes, the Nets beat the Bucs yesterday, 119-116. Now, Giannis, Middleton, and Lopez did sit down in the second half, but things like that still shouldn't happen. The Orlando Magic got beat down by the Indiana Pacers, 120-109. It really wasn't that close. TJ Warren is averaging 42.5 points a game in this bubble. He had 53 against Philadelphia Saturday, and he had 32 against Orlando yesterday. I digress. That was yesterday. Let's talk about today. Bro, Lakers lose again to the Oklahoma City Thunder, 105-86. Every single starter for the Oklahoma City Thunder were in double figures. Oh, and check out this stat line. Chris Paul, 21-7. Danilo Gallinari, 19.7 rebounds. Steven Adams, 18.7 rebounds. Steven Gilchrist Alexander, 13.7 rebounds. The team as a total had 52 rebounds. LBJ, 19 points, 11 rebounds. They shot 13.5% from the three-point line.
Awful.
Yeah. Not good. Not good. Grizzlies are slipping. Utah beat the Grizz tonight, 124-115. Things like this keep the Portland Trailblazers and the San Antonio Spurs alive. Portland beat Houston last night, 110-102. Carmelo Anthony, people all up in his grill, clutched last 3 shots last night. Ingles, leading scorer with 25 points. Rudy Gobert, 21 points. Mike Conley, 23 points. My man Brooks, Oregon Duck, quack, quack, led the squad for the Grizz, 23 points. Valanciunas had 21, and the Rookie of the Year, John Morant, had 20. But, bro, they got to get some help off the bench, bro. Take away the starters off the Grizz, there's not much help coming. I mean, Allen had 18 off the bench, but the rest of that, drop. 76ers beat the Wizards tonight, 107-98. Why the hell the Wizards even got invited? I guess somebody needed to invite somebody to beat up on. You know how you hated that kid in high school, nasty, dirty. You treated him like he had some type of infection. That's the Washington Wizards. They're just straight hot garbage. They're not good at all. They've lost 107-98. Backups were the leading scorers for the Washington Wizards. I just can't believe this. Embiid had 30. Bro, Harris had 17. Richardson had 15. They had no trouble with them. Oh, and the Nuggets won against the Spurs, 132-126. Michael Porter Jr. This guy is unreal. I believe he's only the second rookie to have back-to-back 30-10 games. He had 30 points, 15 rebounds. The Joker had 25 points, 11 assists. And Grant off the bench had 22. Pop, if you're going to make the playoffs, bro, you got to get it together. Grizzlies are messing up and not winning, but Portland is winning. San Antonio and Portland are going to be those two jockeying for that Grizzly spot. Grizzlies have very little wiggle room. It's getting hot in the Western Conference. The East is pretty much set, even with the ass whooping that that Toronto gave Orlando Magic tonight. Yeah. Raptors handled the Magic 109-99. Spicy P, 15 points. Fred VanVleet, 21 points, 12 dimes, 6 players in double figures. Probably the most well-coached team with Nick Nurse. Magic, sloppy. Fournier had 15. Vooch had 12. I mean, Iwandu had 11. They shot 26.8% from the three, 11 for 41, bro. Like, ever since they lost Isaac,
Now, going back to Michael Porter Jr., before he was drafted that he had some back problems. It seems like he's overcome that, and Denver definitely is a player. And what you notice coming out of this NBA play is that it's favoring more younger players because it seems like they're fresher. Is that what you see out of this?
they had a 3.5 day layoff. Now, you got to think your legs are getting tired. It's the grind of the regular season with 82 games. Now, think about it. You get to be in sunny Orlando, Florida. You're tested every other day. If you go out and get some chicken wings, even if you go to John Lewis's funeral, people are going to try to judge you. And you have time off for fresh legs. So these young cats who get traded away from Phoenix because of cash considerations, TJ Warren, or better yet, international phenoms like Luka, who had 32 points, 22 rebounds, and 12 assists yesterday, can just go off. Plus, they're playing with motive. Black Lives Matter, whether your fans like it or not. And with everybody on the same page, even the cats who stand for the national anthem, you're only getting raw and gritty basketball. When was the last time you saw a sorry NBA game if you're actually paying attention in the bubble?
I've seen good NBA play, very good NBA play. So we'll definitely monitor that situation and see how it plays out. But anytime the Lakers can lose, I think I'm very happy about that. Welcome back to the
Agreed.
of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web Pro Football Edition. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Alex Fleming, the flamethrower himself of Fantasy and Flavors. Turf Talk, which can be heard here on Saturdays live on Bucs Report at 10 o'clock. Let's go around the NFL, get off the Bucs, and go out to what I saw today. And I'm trying to find the notes here, but this was coming out from Mike Garafolo of NFL Network that John Gruden actually played a prank on his own team. In fact, he was supposed to meet his players in a Zoom meeting. Former Bucs special teams coach Rich Bisaccia decided to greet them and let them know that Gruden had COVID-19. What do you think about this? Because what he was trying to say and what the Raiders have gone out and said is they were trying to test their players to see what the response. This is kind of interesting. Then again, Gruden in the past as a Bucs coach has been known to lie. So if you're a player, would you trust anything he says after this stunt?
Why do you think he got the nickname of Chucky?
No.
All right, let's be completely honest. We're living in a really sensitive time right now. I mean, people like me are fighting for equal rights. Women's voices are being heard on the soccer and basketball court and outside of the kitchen. It's an election year, and I definitely don't want to talk politics on a Wednesday. There's a lot of heat happening right now in the United States, especially since we're the only damn country that's still dealing with this COVID nonsense. So whenever you make a joke that people might find sensitive or inappropriate, people are going to take it the wrong way. I actually thought it was funny. What I don't find funny out of Las Vegas is the fact that Derek Carr feels disrespected bringing in Marcus Mariota and thinking they're going to draft another quarterback next year. I think Derek Carr needs to have a breakout year if by some chance he's going to retain his job past this year in Vegas. Oh, and by the way, shout out to Justin Rowe of the NFL's Greatest Debate for just completely dismantling some coward named Billy who likes to drop N-bombs and talk about Melvin Gordon. I do believe Josh Jacobs was a better running back his rookie year and now than Melvin Gordon. That's why Melvin's on the second team. I digress. John Gruden was trying to be funny. We need to lighten up. We need more comedy. Dave Chappelle said it best. It's only comedy. Don't take it so seriously.
But then again, I mean, I get what he's trying to do to get a response out of his players, but doesn't it backfire on him now because he'll go to his players and they won't believe what he said. I'm just saying, but Derek Carr to me is not a bad quarterback. He's not. You look at his statistics. And by the way, John Gruden is not going to draft a quarterback. He's had plenty of opportunities in his career to draft a young quarterback. He has never been able to develop a young quarterback in his whole career. The only chance that Derek Carr has to lose his job is if Gruden is infatuated with Marcus Mariota, and I don't see it happening.
Mariota. That's funny. That's funny. That's like turning down the number 9 for the girl that's barely a 6. Please, that's not going to happen. But with that being said, you don't have to worry about losing trust in John Gruden. People lost trust in John Gruden when you tried to trade for Antonio Brown, and he didn't want to stick around. You know what was missing in that offense last year? Think about it. Oakland Raiders went 7-9 last year. Because the offense wasn't Darren Waller did it. And that really big, tall wide receiver that was supposed to be the number 2 coming from LA, yeah, they were missing a number 1. Antonio Brown was supposed to be the number 1 to stretch the field, to make sure that the safety was over the top on him, helping out the corner. Because if they had a number 1 wide receiver, we wouldn't be talking about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs being Super Bowl champions. But it's a funny thing how things go down. And that's the honest to God truth. The first time Kansas City and Oakland played last year, it was neck and neck. It was not a blowout. Oakland was scoring with them tit for tat because that Kansas City defense was not that good. Imagine if Antonio Brown was on that Oakland offense. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Whether you like him or not, the man's got skills. Next to Julio Jones, he's been the most productive wide receiver this decade.
But the man cannot stay out of his own way. He was insubordinate. I'm hearing some backup in your. Are you having backup in your? I'm hearing backup. He's insubordinate, basically. You can't be insubordinate to your employers. You can't have those unnecessary distractions. You can't put your foot in a frozen or cryo chamber. You can't complain about your helmet. He was trying to get kicked off the Raiders, so the Raiders had no choice. I feel bad for the Raiders because they tried to make a trade for a very talented wide receiver, and he let him down. He not only let the coaching staff down, his bosses down, that organization down, he let that locker room down. So spare me with the whole Antonio Brown is the victim of all this nonsense because he doesn't deserve it.
I never said that.
Okay.
I never said that.
But
I will say this. Who in their right mind would think it was a good idea putting Antonio Brown with the same team with Vontaze Burfict?
Well, I mean, but that's what they made. I mean, the Steelers made the trade with the Raiders. I mean, that's what they wanted to do, and the Raiders gave the Steelers what they wanted. The Steelers knew what they were getting, and the Raiders felt like they had every opportunity to compete with the Chiefs and the Chargers in that division. So,
is it fair to say that Vontaze Burfict is to blame for Antonio Brown being the way he is right now? Is that fair?
It's possible, but then you hear about all the rumors before then, and you hear Mike Tomlin and how he had to babysit and basically do his best coaching job with a malcontent like a Brown and a Le'Veon Bell. I tend to believe that this behavior was conditioned and just got worse because people were able to just put it aside, and now it's coming back to bite them, and that's when the Steelers knew it was time to cut bait.
I believe that Antonio Brown's not done. I think a year away from football has humbled him just a little bit. Just a little bit, because you and I both agree that man's still nuts.
Yes.
But I think if he's going to have a redemption song, he realizes he's going to have to get his act together and at least pretend to act like he cares and can be a solid person. I think that's the only reason why he hasn't been signed yet, because he's a liability. Can you trust him not to go outside the facility and contract COVID? Can you trust him to keep team secrets? Now, you already know what you're getting on the field. That's not a question. I will never even question that because the man's got skills. What he does off the field can probably be the biggest reason why he hasn't been signed yet.
And I think that's the biggest reason. And then on top of it, him being suspended for the first 8 games of the year. And then there's another case out there that the NFL is investigating. So it could be longer than 8 games. We have no idea. And that's the problem. As talented as he is, it's overshadowed by his stupid decision-making. And in a time where you have to worry about somebody contracting COVID-19, I'm just not willing to invest millions of dollars in an untrustworthy player who's shown over the years that basically he is a malcontent and a cancer for a locker room. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web Pro Football Edition. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the flamethrower himself, Mr. Alex Fleming, having a good time tonight. And speaking of having a good time, Colin Cowherd today was on the Herd on Fox Sports 1 talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their high expectations. In fact, this is what he had to say. You have the most obsessed football player joining the best wide receiving group and tight end group. And you also have this team that was weak at right tackle and running back, which they improved on. The defense is better than you think. In my opinion, this offensive roster is better than Randy Moss and Wes Welker team. Tampa Bay and Baltimore Super Bowl would not shock me. In fact, he says Baltimore could go 16-0 and Tampa Bay could go 13-3. Your thoughts?
Baltimore 15-1. I believe Kansas City can give them the most issues. Cleveland doesn't want that smoke. I don't know who the hell your caller was at the beginning of the show, having faith in Baker Mayfield. I mean, are you high? Are you high? Can you please pass whatever the hell you're smoking? Because you're high. Cincinnati, really with Baltimore. All right. And Pittsburgh, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. If Big Ben goes down, that's a wrap.
That's the question, though. Is Big Ben healthy? He's up there in age. If he's healthy, which you hear from all the various reports that he feels better than he ever did, and it seems
he feels lighter. He says he feels lighter than he ever has. I believe he tore about 13 to 38 ligaments in his arm and tendons. But he says he feels great and he's been throwing. Now, look, if you have an in-shape Ben Roethlisberger and he's constantly throwing for 4,000 plus, with the additions of Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson, which is being slept on in fantasy leagues, they can make some noise. They're not messing with Baltimore. Bro, Baltimore was handling Pittsburgh last year when you had some clown named Rudolph and Duck Hodges. Okay, fine. I get that. So what do? They get better at linebacker because they got a Queen and Patrick Queen. LSU met him at the combine. That's a nice kid. You get better up front with Calais Campbell. The running game is just sick. Ingram, Edwards, Dobbins, and I'm not even talking about Rechtensteiner, who they might put at fullback, and is still faster than any of the damn linebackers. They got better at wide receiver with Duvernay, and if they pick up AB and they meet in the second half of the season, what the hell is that secondary going to do? The only thing good about that defense at Pittsburgh, they're okay at linebacker. They're great in the secondary. That front can get got. What do you do to get got for the front? You run the football.
Well, I agree, and that's what they're going to be doing with Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, of course. Mark Ingram, everything they have there, and they could put up great numbers this year once again. But the big time question mark is going to be: can Baltimore get over the top, and can Lamar Jackson get over the top? So that division, to me, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and then everybody else is following suit. But going back to Cowherd in his comments, he says they're going to kick the crap out of most of the teams they play. Once again, they're stacked at tight end, stacked at wide receiver. I think they're going to really roll a lot of people. New Orleans has the more complete team, but Drew doesn't throw deep anymore. So to me, I get it. In the Cam Jordan comments, we talked about that tonight, talked about that the last week. For me, it's just a slap in the face, and it's really stupid on his part and naive to think that Tom Brady wasn't paying attention, especially when you're saying he's the second best quarterback of all time on his birthday and saying this team is going to be playing for second place. You already have motivation there with Tom Brady. He's highly competitive. He wants to win at all costs, and he has something to prove this year by going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and saying to them, they feel like they're not only competitive for the playoffs, but also can win a Super Bowl. to prove everybody wrong that he did it without a Belichick. I don't know what Cam Jordan is thinking. It's for me, it's stupid.
Pete, please take this with a grain of salt, but I hope you and everyone listening in can hear and understand this. For the love of God, please hear and understand this.
Yep.
Outside of Tampa, no one from New Orleans is afraid of the Buccaneers.
They should.
The Saints have won the division 3 years in a row. The Saints have been spanking the Buccaneers years in a row. And the Saints know that if Sue goes down, or if Vay goes down, or if Smith misses a block and Brady goes down, we are done.
I don't think we're done. I don't think you're done with the Tom Brady. I don't think you're done with the quarterback of Tom Brady. And I think
here's my point.
Right.
They are number one in the division.
But the
bringing in a 42 to 43-year-old quarterback is not going to scare a top-notch defense with excellent pass rushers and an offensive line that is superior to Tampa's offensive line. Now, why Janoris Jenkins is talking, I don't know. It's because he just joined the squad. I get that. But I think it's going to be Lattimore that's going to be covering Evans, and that's why you got Janoris Jenkins talking. Did everybody forget that they signed Malcolm Jenkins back at safety? Did everybody forget that they picked up Zach Bond and Joe Bocci, the two leading tacklers in the Big Ten last year? I pay attention to things like that.
Well,
My apologies.
I would pay attention to the fact of you have 2,000-yard wide receivers. You have 3 tight ends that are very good. You have an improved offensive line, and you have a quarterback that's not going to turn over the ball as much as Jameis Winston. Let's go out to the phone lines. Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with the flamethrower himself, Mr. Alex Fleming.
Fellas,
hey, Ray.
Fellas, Mr. Flamethrower, Alex, I want to agree with you that you are right, that nobody in the New Orleans organization, no one in Who Dat Nation are fearing anything about it because they have had the biggest team on the block and that we haven't done anything yet. But I do want to tell you one thing, for as little as they may fear us yet, and I say yet, coming and taking that NFC South crown this year and or maybe going and picking up the Lombardi and Super Bowl 55, I will tell you that I know for a fact that offense, that Saints offense, is worried about that Todd Bowles defense bitch slapping them up and down the field.
That's true.
So
That's true.
Well, I mean,
I'll tell you, that's what they're afraid of. Now, obviously, the offensive things, the Saints aren't that bad on the defensive side of the ball themselves. Their defensive line blew our offensive line up last year, like they had pockets of, like they had TNT in their pockets. But yeah, that's where I'm looking. That's where I think the Saints are scared this year with the differences, and then Todd Bowles in that second defense, Devin White second year defense. That's where I think the fear, and that's where I think it's the Saints offensive coordinators to go to bed at night and have little nightmares about.
That's a good point. That's a great point because this defense improved the second half of the year. And look, if Drew Brees is not throwing deep, which Kyle Hurd thinks, and if you look at the statistics of Michael Thomas. Predominantly most of his receptions are on screen passes and little dumps and stuff like that.
That's not true. That's not true. 35% of his receptions were slants and screen passes. That's 35%. 60% of his passes were 10 yards or more downfield. As a matter of fact, Drew Brees hit Michael Thomas in stride for 50-plus yard receptions to Michael Thomas 8 times last year. So he's not just a slant king. Let's get that thought out of our heads. But speaking of Michael Thomas, I believe I wrote an article last year, Tampa Bay Ray, Peter Blake, Mission Impossible, stopping Michael Thomas. And a lot of you guys from Tampa Bay laughed at me and said I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. 1,726 yards and 149 receptions later, I believe he's at the top of the wide receiver chain. If he's not number one, he's in the conversation.
Well, it's
how
okay.
the hell are we going to stop Michael Thomas?
You stop him.
one very egregious pass interference call where he almost took Hargrave's neck off with his
Right,
snapback.
and you have you
But
mentioned it there, Ray. It's Vernon Hargraves. Now you're going to face Carlton Davis. Now you're going to face a Sean Murphy Bunting, and now you're going to face a Jamel Dean, and you're going to have a defense that's going to get after it. And to your point, by you're patting yourself on the back, and that's okay. It only takes one injury to Drew Brees. It only takes one injury to Alvin Kamara or Marshawn Lattimore. And I'm telling you right now, they need to be worried about this Bucs offense because they have something that they haven't had in a long time, and that's a quarterback that can make quick decisions and is not going to turn over the ball. I'm telling you right now, keep on talking. It's always the loudest person in the room, but the loudest person in the room isn't always right. Go ahead, Tampa Bay Ray.
Christian McCaffrey's going to get fed. Julio Jones is going to get fed. Michael Thomas is going to get fed. These players are going to get fed. But the problem is that because we're not going to be playing from behind, and we're going to be playing a ball control offense that's putting touchdowns on the board on our side of the scoreboard, those defense, they're going to get fed, but we're going to be able to keep everything in front of us and let them get theirs. They're going to get fed, like I said, but they're not going to be getting fed going for touchdowns and running left and right and leaving guys completely uncovered because we're playing from behind. Because in 2020, gentlemen, we're playing from in front.
Yeah, you're playing from in front, and on top of it, I best remember when the Saints played the Bucs, both of those games, they didn't have a 100-yard rusher. So that's against the number one rush defense in the NFL. So you can have
Kamara didn't have 79 yards.
Right.
That game,
I mean, so when you can shut down a game, you make them one-dimensional. It's a good debate. We're going to keep on having this debate on the Sports Web. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, thanks a lot for calling the Evolution, all right?
Hey, I just wanted to say, hey, the Flames throw a great job on Saturday with Turf Talk there, Mr.
Does he not do a killer job? He's a killer. I love him. I love him,
just
man.
got to do me a favor because I've already said this and I'll say it till Dad die. He can talk basketball because he knows the game. And people, if you want, and as we get into the playoffs, we get through this round robin and we get into the playoffs, I want to talk with you more. But when you're calling here on a Wednesday night and we're talking football, the only thing I want to hear you talking about basketball relating to football is how COVID is being successfully overcome so we can successfully overcome and play some NFL football, baby. All right?
Love it, Tampa Bay Ray.
Amen.
Positivity there. Best of the Bay. I got to wrap it up, man. Great segment as always. You know, we could have a segment all night long, debate back and forth. I feel like our synergy here, it gets a little bit passionate, but what do we say here, Alex Fleming? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Go ahead and promote yourself, and we'll get you out of here for the end of the night.
Did you say synergy? Oh, that's a sexy word. That's sexy.
You like that, don't you? Turns you on.
I do like that.
All right. Friend a friend. Go ahead and promote yourself, buddy.
Alex Fleming on Twitter, ALXFLMNG. No vowels, nice and simple. I started writing again. It's football season. There's no rest for the wicked. Florida Sun Review, Central Florida's oldest Black living newspaper, celebrating 92 years. Glad to be a part of it and expect more things to come. Check out the recent articles about the New England. Sorry, I said New England. Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Orlando Magic. SMA, Sportsmed Analytics. I have a doctor in my corner, and he happens to be a sports fan. So if you're wondering about your players and if they're healthy, check out Sportsmed Analytics. Turf Talk, Saturday morning. Tune in, don't tune in. Politics and sports. Sports is back. I'll be talking more sports than politics. Please believe that. The W, 40 is the new 20. I feel great. That's why you can find me on Rent-A-Friend. Don't wait for a right time because there never will be. Stu, Sports Talk Unfiltered. Paul, Hollywood Edwards, get better. I love you. I miss you. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Beat this damn thing so that way we can have Fantasy and Flavors one more year. All right? I'm praying for you. Oh, and BSITM. I'm always adding something new, but that's Brian Snow in the morning. Brian Snow has invited me. He's based out of North Carolina, by the way. Has invited me to talk about some NBA at 8:30 in the morning. So if you're in the North Carolina area where it's kitty cat country, or you just like listening to NBA, tune in early in the morning. I'm a busy man. As you can see, I'm bored.
You're not bored. You're a hardworking man. That's why we got you on here, Mr. Alex Fleming of Fantasy and Flavors, the flamethrower on the evolution of sports talk television. Don't be a stranger, my friend. All right?
Thank you, Pete.
All right, good stuff. Alex Fleming here. Love it. Love the segment. It's always filled with passion. Guys, that's been 3 hours. Thank you to, of course, Kyle Keck, Alex Fleming, and Nick Citro, my long-lost friend, finally coming back. Tomorrow night, we will have at 9 o'clock the Ricky Reynolds segment. Of course, former Buck, former Patriot, Worked as a sports analyst at 9:30. We'll have the big three roll-up guys. And then after that, at 10 o'clock, we will have Kevin O'Donnell of Fox 13 talking about the helicopter trips and also what he thinks about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020. That's it here. Your pro football edition of the Sports Web. Do three things for me on this early Thursday morning. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. See you tomorrow night. You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.